in our area, which is a good thing because this is just a dangerous situation to be in. I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
I want to get a quick update from you, and I know you're not right there, but you two were covering the Palisades High School fire.
Yeah.
At last check, were the classrooms, did they get engulfed in flames?
Yeah, well, we'll flip it around. We'll show you the high school over here. It's actually right on the other side of the street. You can see the fire trucks parked right out front right now, possibly. They're still fighting that fire. I think the majority of the school, hopefully, will be okay. I know that they're overwhelming it right now with firefighters, but we did see those trailer classrooms destroyed, and they're gone. And like I was saying earlier, it's hard to imagine that there were students in class here today, and I know that they're wondering what's going to happen next for them in school.
And just to clarify, because we know that this is challenging for firefighters and they got to pick and choose their spots. But some people are wondering, why would you not pick the high school as one of the spots of places to defend? At this point, it looks like there are firefighters working hard on the high school to keep that thing under control there, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They showed up probably about an hour ago when we had that live shot, and they were putting out the flames, and they're still back in there. I don't know if we can kind of walk a little bit closer. I do want to update. It looks like the power is out for a little while. We saw lights on here, so that's changed. You can see more firefighters coming down. And we've got the football field to our left here as we're continuing to walk. And this is outside the high school right now. You can see firefighters. They were walking right back into the school and attacking it. So you feel like they have a pretty good hand on the high school itself right now. But I mean, it's just everything around the school is burning.
Oh, yeah, we know the athletic fields burned earlier. Okay, Matthew and Sam, photographer Sam Dubin, thank you so much. Joining us now on the line is Sheila Kelleher. She's with LA County Fire. Thank you so much for being with us, especially on a night like tonight. You have crews at both fires, the Palisades Fire and the Eaton Fire. Let's start with the Palisades Fire. What is the strategy heading into the night as the winds pick up?
Boy, good evening. Yes, it is hectic and it is challenging for sure. Everybody's in position, and like you said, it's a triage situation where we're getting what we can get where we're at. Not easy. These winds I can feel in the last hour are increasing, and they've been hard and strong all day. And I'm actually sitting in my vehicle as I'm talking to you, and it's actually being full on pushed around by the wind. And they tell us that by 10 o'clock till about 6 a.m., the peak of the wind is actually going to kick up. So that's kind of scary to understand that.
So we know that there's only so many people that you have and so many places you can go. Earlier with the Palisades Fire, some of the folks were talking about if we get another fire, we might not have the resources we need to fight fires. Where are we at in terms of staffing tonight? And at this point, are you basically stretched too thin?
I wouldn't say we're stretched too thin because, we have all of East County and all of our strike teams that were not up for this fire because we kind of strategically planned that, for this exact scenario. So we can't take everything from across the county because we still have to do our day-to-day operations, and that's taking care of everybody with all their emergency calls. So we do have help from our assisting agencies. Well, we're helping LA City with this fire. Cal Fire is down. Governor Newsom has sent down an extra 45 or 60 rigs. So the resources are being spread out, and there are resources, and they're doing a good job of figuring out who goes where and what happens. And on a fire like the Palisades, if the listeners can understand, it's like a tornado coming through. It's like, a hurricane coming through. It's like you can't stop the wind. You can only then, after it's passed through, really go in and help fix things. Now, attach fire to that, you're not stopping the fire when it's blowing 70 miles an hour. You are waiting to.
Well, indeed, you cannot stop the fire. We alluded to this earlier tonight. The fire will continue. Heavy winds are going to be peaking tonight. and will peak through the morning. That means that this fire is going to spread west, southwest, south, and west. And the good news for Santa Monica is it's not heading towards them. The bad news, it's heading west, which means Calabasas County will be affected, and there will be huge amounts of property damage. I believe that at the end of this storm, it will be the smallest wildfire ever to affect the largest number of homes. I think that just with a 3,000 acre fire, this could affect 15 to 20,000 homes by the morning or by late tomorrow night, and will be some of the highest record numbers. Each home in this region is worth more than $1 million. If it hits 30,000 of them, you do the math. That's $3 billion worth of homes, not to mention the infrastructure, the power lines, and everything else that has to go along with this. And prior to this fire, many of the insurance companies have already left the region. So this is insane. It doesn't bode well for many of the people. Now, what's the good news is that people that have enough money, like James Woods, that lives in this region, hired people to stay on their property after they left to use the garden hose to fend off embers. Many people could have done this and saved their homes. This is a fast-moving brush fire. This is not your atypical wildfire. This is basically just lighting up bushes and grass as it rapidly moves forward. It doesn't even have enough time to burn trees. But if an ember hits your house and your house is built of wood, goodbye. With the high winds, houses burn immediately. Trees in this region are filled with water. It's fall, for goodness sakes, entering winter. And in this area, trees are filled with water. So it's very hard to burn the trees. It's easy to burn the bushes, the scrub, and the grasses that have been growing after 3 years of record rain in this region. And because of the fact that these people are all narcissistic greenies that think that they don't want to kill the butterfly moth or whatever they're doing out there, they refuse to do controlled burns. We do controlled burns all over Colorado all year. It sucks. We get sucked into the wildfire smoke. But guess what? No huge communities or major cities ever burn from wildfires because of our fire mitigation. We have some of the best fire mitigation in Colorado in the entire planet. And many of these states should be adopting the same types of protocols that we have here. But I do digress. We have over 500 watching live, and we're going to get back to some of the coverage here. I just had to cough my neck off. But we do have much more coming from you, coming for you over the next few hours, as this is simply exploding over the region. And unfortunately, it's happening overnight. Hopefully, all of those affected are getting out of harm's way. But we have more to report on shortly. So stay tuned for more Boom. Yeah.
PCH right now, so we're south of Sunset, and you can see just embers now. I mean, these structures have now burned. It looks like a lot of them are just gone. There's nothing left here but these smoldering embers, hot spots that are flaring up here and there, but there's nothing left to burn. The public restroom across the street, across PCH, that appears to be gone, or it's done burning at least, so not sure what's left of that. And then a lot of these, we understand now, are mobile homes. These are mobile home parks. There's several of them with hundreds of mobile homes in them, and it looks like
people, some of these will look like, maybe, I'm not sure if they're N95s, but N95 like type masks to help them with the wind out here. And we don't know how long it's going to take them to get everybody out of this parking lot, but we can see a lot more of these shuttles pulling up on Altadena Drive right now. So we're assuming maybe they're going to start getting people out of here as quickly as they can. The fire too, Chris, maybe we can go over here and show where the fire is in relation to this. if you can see up here where these palm trees are, the fire is coming right up out of Eaton Canyon. So it's like maybe 1.5 blocks away from this area. It's not far away. I wouldn't expect it to make its way all the way out here to Washington and Altadena Drive, because I think the vegetation cuts off at a certain point. And then there's businesses and like parking lots with lots of concrete that I think would create somewhat of a natural firewall. But you know, there's a ton of homes too that are nestled in the hillsides here. Let's keep the shots a little wide and back up a little bit, just so we give everyone as much privacy as we possibly can out here. It's a hard situation. It's, you know, you can't kind of not show everybody out here, but yeah, it's unbelievable. And I think there are maybe 2 senior centers up here, actually, the Pasadena Villas Senior Center, and then a second one up the street. Let me check my phone and see if I can find the name of that one, because someone sent it to me earlier. But I think it's 2 different senior centers here off of Altadena Drive that have had to be evacuated tonight. The other one, maybe the terraces at Park Marino, which I think is also pretty close by here on Altadena Drive. Also needed people to be evacuated. There's a lot of streets here, I believe, north of New York Drive and east of Altadena Drive in the area that people have been evacuated from their homes as well. You can see they're pulling ambulances up here, trying to you know, get as much room basically to shuttle people out of here as they can. And it's going to take time. They're still pushing people across the street right now, so I don't know how many more people are coming out of here, but we have a huge law enforcement presence in the area, tons of firefighters, lots of Pasadena police officers who have been going around manually evacuating people from their homes. And you can see the embers just burning across this parking lot tonight, because these gusty winds are really just like a blowtorch when you get up in that canyon. We had to move our van like 2 or 3 times just being up there to kind of give you that visual of the flames. It was moving so fast we really couldn't stay in the area for that long. But we're hoping to see these people get loaded up into these shuttles as soon as they can, you guys.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is just
not comfortable for them to be out here.
Yeah, I'm hoping this is just a staging area, Nicole, where they're just getting these people situated and that they are going to be taken to some sort of evacuation center in the city of Pasadena, because there needs to be one established for the people who are being evacuated from Eaton Canyon. So we're hoping that that's the case. Yeah.
Dozens and dozens of people.
Yeah, I know they do have
Go ahead, Nicole.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you guys off.
No,
it's
go
kind
ahead.
of hard for me to hear out here. Yeah, I know Pasadena does have, I think maybe the Angeles National Forest just mentioned a short time ago that Pasadena does have a larger evacuation shelter they set up. But earlier in the day, there was a church, I believe off of Walnut, that said that they were opening up as like a wind retrieve for people in case anyone needed to leave their homes or they were scared because of the wind. So we know a church already opened their doors earlier in the day, but once this fire started here, the city knew they had to, you know, get a bigger space for people. And I don't have that location on me right now, but I know that I did just see that they are, you know, clearing way for evacuees to go to. And, you know, hopefully they can get some of these people over there. You know, if you're a family member watching this, you know that you have a family member in one of these 2 facilities, you know, you might be able to come get them tonight if they allow you to, if they tell you where they're going to be taking everyone to. But everyone looks safe. Randy, the gentleman I spoke with who works here a couple minutes ago, said he thinks everyone already made it out of there safely. So it's just getting them to a more comfortable place.
Yeah, they did a great job taking them out on wheelchairs and in gurneys, even in their beds. You saw those hospital beds that were being rolled into this parking lot right there on Washington and Altadena, between a McDonald's and a 7-Eleven. It's just...
Text, Milagro. Equal housing opportunity. A swimming pool and hot...
So right now we know that it's just below 3,000 acres, and it probably exceeds that because that last number given to us at least an hour ago. Okay, we want to go to Christy Fajardo again in the heart of the Palisades, and more destruction behind you, Christy.
Sadly, we're seeing quite a bit of destruction, and you mentioned that firefighters are going to give an update on structure loss until tomorrow, but likely they don't even know how many structures have been lost, because as we've been here, we've only seen one Cal firefighter come by. He asked us what this was, and we said Sadly, it's an elementary school, and he shook his head. But we've not seen any other firefighters, and we know that people have lost their livelihood. There's a business around the corner that has caught fire and is pretty much destroyed. And down the street, people have lost their homes, and now it appears that some children may have also possibly lost their school. This was the backside of Palisades Charter Elementary. We're on Swarthmore. We haven't been able to get to the front, so hopefully the front has fared better than the back. But I want to show you, if we go down the street, again, we're on Swarthmore, several homes have burned. You can see that house right over there. It has been burning for the last hour and a half or so. But we've also seen glowing lights on the other side of the street, which seem to indicate that something is burning over there. And so often in these fires, we hear people who come back and wonder why their home burned and others were spared. And if we pan up, I can show you one of the reasons, and that is the palm trees or vegetation around it. One will catch fire like this palm tree, and then it starts raining embers on a home, and then that house gets into the eaves, and then there's really not much that can be done to save it. And then there'll be another palm tree right next to it that does not catch fire. So it often looks in a neighborhood a little odd. Some homes burn, others survive. And unless you're here to witness it, you don't really understand why. But we have now gotten closer to this home. You can see it is a total loss. And unfortunately, now we're seeing that the building right next to it is also on fire. And Gino Arias, who is behind the camera, you can pan that way over there. You can see that something is burning right down the street as well. And you probably just saw that rain of embers. And that is what we've talked about and what firefighters fear, because when we have these Santa Ana winds, these strong gusts, it picks up embers when something like this house is on fire. And then it starts raining all over the neighborhood, and they can be carried a mile away. And then they start other spot fires. And again, firefighters might have resources in one area, not even be aware of what's burning. We are going to make our way down the street so that we can see what else is on fire. Fortunately, it looks like everyone heeded the evacuation warnings. We're not seeing anyone on this street anymore. And what we're witnessing really underscores why firefighters
as quickly as possible in this. I just saw in the past couple of minutes too, they pulled a cart out here with waters so they can make sure people, can catch their breath and get a drink of water, stay hydrated out here. It's so smoky out here. I can't really tell anymore. I've been breathing it in for a couple of hours, but if you just were at home resting in your bed and you got yanked out, in a hospital bed essentially and carted across the street and you're breathing this in, it's got to be really uncomfortable right now. And it's good to see that they've pulled out the Pasadena transit bus here to load people up and get them out of here.
And it's only going to get colder, Nicole. 56 degrees right now in Altadena. So it's a good thing that they are getting these folks taken away.
And we do
we can see they have this cart here too with waters on it. So they're kind of pushing that around to help people.
focusing on this house, a plastic trash can, actually just came down the street. That is how powerful these winds are. A gust just blew it all the way down the street. And we're gonna walk down there so we can see what else is burning. Just so much devastation, so much heartbreak. And unfortunately, I've seen this on several streets here in the Palisades. And we are, as I mentioned, in the heart of the Palisades. Where I was standing with the elementary school is there's the Frontier Communications building right there. There's also a post office. Fortunately, those were still standing and did not appear to be affected by the fire, at least not yet. But no firefighters, not one in sight. Just too many fires burning at this hour for them to get to all of them. So sadly, this is what we're witnessing. Let's send it back to you.
It does look like a Tesla. The frame of that house there still standing, but I'm sure it won't be much longer until it does fall. Christy Fajardo and Gino Arias, thank you for your coverage. From CHP West Valley, while we give you a live look from our Santa Monica cam and the flames off in the distance, the following closures are in place because of the Palisades fire. This is southbound PCH at Las Flores Canyon Road, southbound Topanga Canyon Boulevard at Mulholland Drive, Sheeran Road at Stunt Road, southbound Tuna Canyon Road at Saddle Peak Road, and Old Topanga Canyon Road at Mulholland Highway. That is an LASD closure. Those are the road closures in place right now because of the Palisades fire, according to the CHP West Valley Division. A lot of road closures, obviously. If you don't need to be in this area, there's no need to be, and the whole idea of these evacuation orders is to get out. Before we get to our next reporter, I want to make a point because I've heard from a lot of you on social who are wanting some coverage on the Eaton fire. We do have a crew there. That crew just had to break down because they were getting dangerously close to some flames. So while they make their way to get to a safer location, we are covering the Palisades fire for you. So don't go anywhere. We will have that Eaton fire coverage in just a few more moments. With that said, let's go to Ed Laskos in the heart of Palisades Village tonight with more on the flames there. Ed?
Flames roaring through here, and so these gusty winds. We're on Radcliffe. It runs parallel to Temescal Canyon, just on the east side, and Radcliffe on both sides of this street. As the gusts come through here is, well, look at it for yourself. One home after another going up in flames. This is one of the latest ones here. Fire engine, Fire 10 from Long Beach, the city of Long Beach, finally coming in. They've been putting some water on it, trying to ease the flow of the hot, searing embers that these winds have been kicking up. You can see all those embers just lit up, flying into the air, and that's been causing all these spot fires. This home, sadly, is gone. And as Mikey sort of pans down to the right down the street we'll go toward PCH, and you can see home after home as you look down here on Radcliffe. Fire everywhere you look. That was a huge 3-story mansion down right at the corner there of the cliff when you make the right-hand turn, go to Temescal and over to Palisades High School. That is gone. Looking through what used to be a 2-story home here, nothing but embers. But up on the hillside, we talk about fire everywhere. Look at that roaring flames up there on top of the hillside. That's the top of the bluff by my estimation, by my thoughts, where you have great views. A lot of the locals go over there. There's a small park, lots of nice benches, great view of the Santa Monica Bay below PCH. Those are some incredibly wonderful homes up there, and that fire looks like it's now roaring into that neighborhood up to the bluff itself. And then down here just below all of that is what's left of these homes here on Radcliffe. This was the first area that was hit, maybe about 3 hours ago, as the fire jumped Sunset and just kept moving. This place, just some hot spots and what's left of the brick chimney, really all that's standing here. But as this burned, the wind was blowing the flames, and I should say, really more importantly, the burning embers across Radcliffe, blowing them in that direction, and that's why it jumped across the street over here to where we have the homes burning now, and it's continuing further east. But I've got to tell you, in the last maybe 15 minutes or so, we're getting these gusts of wind that come through here. They continue to do that, but the thing is, they're now seemingly kind of blowing the embers toward the ocean, blowing them toward PCH. Before, we saw them blowing it toward the east. But see, as this gust comes through, look at the embers. They're not blowing toward the camera. They're blowing down toward PCH, and that is where the firefight continues. We just saw a line truck from Cal Fire with maybe about a half dozen strike team members heading in that direction. And I assume they're probably going to try to put a fire line down there to try to deal with the flames that they hit the bluff, because they don't want them to continue to go down. But this area of Radcliffe, just along Temescal Canyon, it is a total loss. It is burning. Everything is burning here. I hate to tell you, several homes lost. The area evacuated several hours ago. No power, no cell service. So we're not thinking, as LAPD was going door to door earlier, and also with their loudspeakers on their black and whites telling everybody to get out, mandatory evacuation. The good news in this sense is that they've got everybody out of here, no loss of life we're praying for, but now it's just a battle to keep the homes from going up. Some more fire trucks. Mikey will give you a look. There's another unit pulling in here. We had engine 10 from Long Beach here the last hour or so, finally moving in. This one also coming in from, how can I read? Also Long Beach. Engine 13, city of Long Beach, also coming in. Mutual aid to help in the firefight here, as the firefighters trying to stage a line in Radcliffe. The embers blowing now off of Sunset, blowing south toward PCH, toward the bay, toward the water, and that seems to where this fire is marching unabated, just going that way, being fueled by these winds. And we're still getting those very strong gusting winds, and unfortunately these homes Oh, they continue to burn with the debris. Look at all those embers just flying up. Looks like they're going to catch that tree on fire next. It's a battle where you don't know where. If you had firefighters there, I don't think they would know even where to start. It is just out of control. Everything burning, fires everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the reality. I mean, we heard from LA County Fire, Sheila Kelleher, saying basically it's like trying to fight a tornado. You let the tornado go through and then you deal with the aftermath after. Which is such a sad way to look at it when this is your home that is under destruction. It's completely engulfed in flames. That is the reality at this hour.
And what we think of what this aftermath will look like, this neighborhood will not be anything close to the same for years, if ever. And you think about all the students at their schools that just got impacted in a big way. I mean, these stories, we often talk about them when the flames are there and everybody's attention, and then the media moves on. But this will impact all these folks' lives for the rest of their lives. And it's a big area of people that are being impacted by what we're seeing here. And it is a picturesque, family-friendly, beautiful, affluent, safe neighborhood that people aspire to live in, and that neighborhood will never be the same after tonight. But again, we have this message. This can be replaced. Thankfully, so far, we do not have any word of any injuries, which is amazing considering all these images that we've been looking at throughout the night. A lot of people seem to be heeding the warnings, but not everybody. Governor Gavin Newsom in town tonight, part of the response at the press conference earlier, he talked about the need to heed the evacuation warnings.
We're just getting this word from LA Mayor Karen Bass that the city of LA has declared a local emergency in response. So we saw this earlier at the state level. With Governor Newsom reaching out to President Biden and getting FEMA dollars headed our way. Well, now the city of LA is doing the same thing to help clear the path for a rapid recovery, as the note says here from Mayor Bass's office, making it a point to say, you know, that the thousands of families impacted by this horrific fire, the city of LA is providing resources and shelter as this emergency continues. She was out of the country
in Ghana. On a diplomatic mission, something she was very involved with when she was in Congress working on Africa issues. But a lot of folks wish she was here in Los Angeles tonight. She's on her way back here to try to deal with this issue.
So LA City declaring a state of emergency to help clear the path to get more money and resources to all of the impacted residents. So that is good news. Also getting word that all Malibu schools will be closed again tomorrow due to the Palisades Fire. That goes without saying. The district Santa Monica campuses are expected to be open. That's interesting. So the district Santa Monica campuses are expected to be open tomorrow, but a final decision will be made at 6 a.m. Wednesday. So there's a but there as well. And there is also the Los Angeles Zoo. If you perhaps had a plan to go to the zoo tomorrow, they've put out a note that they will be closed tomorrow because of the dangerous wind.
Yeah, those Malibu schools were closed today proactively, not wanting, because they were afraid of a fire breaking out in Malibu. Obviously, that fire breaking out in Pacific Palisades just down the street from Malibu. So far, so good when it comes to the city of Malibu, but they are worried because of the proximity of what's happening here in Pacific Palisades. And we know Malibu has its own, troubled history when it comes to brush fires. Let's listen in to Governor Newsom from a little bit earlier.
By no stretch of the imagination are we out of the woods. You heard the chief say 10 p.m. tonight to 5 a.m. tomorrow will be peak winds. And having just quite literally an hour or so ago gone up the canyon and saw firsthand the impact of these swirling winds and the embers and the number of structures that are destroyed, not a few, many structures already destroyed, and the fact that people were still not evacuated, still did not heed the warning, we're just coming down the canyon, is a reminder of how serious this moment is and how important it is you listen to these evacuation orders.
All right, that was Governor Gavin Newsom. He took part in the 3:30 presser that we brought live to you here with all the LA County and LA City officials. Point well taken. If you're under an evacuation warning, get ready to get out the door. If you're under an order, get out.
And interesting, the timing of all of this, part of the reason he was here was he was supposed to meet with President Biden in Thermal. But President Biden, who was going to Thermal to declare a national monument, landed in LA last night, was supposed to take off for Thermal because of all this, never took off for Thermal, and is still here. So the president spending the night in West Los Angeles, not far from all of this happening. And he may be watching. If you're watching, Mr. President, thanks for being with us tonight. But he's here. He has already authorized emergency funds from the federal government and is in communication, Governor Newsom said, with him on this issue. But the president and the federal government happens to be here for this. The state government happens to be here for this, in addition, of course, to the county and the city leadership as well.
Where do we want to go next? I know that we're waiting for the Eaton fire live shot. We will get to that in a moment. Let's go to Chelsea Edwards back on PCH there. Chelsea?
Marla, unfortunately, we're seeing yet another structure. It appears this looks like a home going up in flames at the top of that ridge. We can see the outline of it pretty well a minute ago, but the smoke keeps shifting. We can see it, and then we can't. We can see it, and we can't. But that's a new one that has not been burning as of the last hour or two. So something else is burning up there. Yet another home lost in this vicinity of PCH near Temescal, between Temescal Canyon and Sunset Boulevard, which is where we are. I mean, just devastating losses. You're going to see when the sun comes up. I think we're going to see some pretty incredible destruction in these areas, both in these mobile home parks and in the hillsides surrounding these mobile home parks near Temescal. I mean, it's just everywhere we've been looking for hours now. It's just been nothing but an orange glow, nothing but flames. Now, we're not too far from the Getty Villa. We're told that some of the grounds of the Getty Villa burned, but that the structure and the artwork has remained intact. We're hoping that remains the case and that is protected as well. You look at these homes, though, and just think there has to be a lot of people waking up tomorrow to this news and just hearing about this devastation. And it's just going to be such a long road ahead for these folks. This wind continues to blow. It's blowing a sign that we keep hearing banging. We can't see anything out in the ocean now, but we can hear it banging along the beach path, I think. We also just saw a power line that went down and snapped a few minutes ago. That's also new. That hasn't happened yet. Thankfully, none of the power lines that are around us here on PCH have gone down until that one. That's on the other side of PCH, and we're looking at the lines around us, and I think that we're okay where we're standing here, but we watched that one go down, so things are just burning. They continue to smolder. You get the fire in these palm trees and in these power poles, and they burn until they collapse, which is what we're seeing now. They're just finally getting burnt out. But you look ahead in that distance, and all you see is fire. You could very clearly make out structures a while ago. Now that's hard to even see if structures are still standing. A lot of these, there's nothing left. When we first got here, there were actual structures up on this hill next to us. Those aren't there anymore. There's nothing there anymore. The whole structures are gone. Whoa, here's one of those gusts of wind we've been talking about. Those are so strong when they hit. They just kind of come out of nowhere. Also seeing some emergency responders heading south on PCH. They're going up and down. There's a big presence. I mean, we've seen them often coming up and down PCH. Not sure where they're headed. They're not focusing on these mobile parks, that's for sure. But they're doing the work that they need to do. PCH now closed. It's been closed for some time. They were allowing evacuees to come down the hill and then leave on PCH, but they stopped that a while ago, and they started turning people around to go back up north on PCH. So at some point here, they're turning people around and not letting them travel on PCH because the fire is just getting so close to it as well. And did jump it at one point and burn the bathrooms, the public bathrooms that are on the other side of PCH. So you can see these winds. They're swirling. I mean, for a minute they go in one direction, then they kind of spin around and they blow you backwards, and then they're coming from another. I mean, it's just wild. You kind of feel like you're standing in a hurricane or a tornado or something. You can't quite get your bearings at any point. That temperature has also dropped quite a bit as well. For a long time, we could feel the heat from the flames from where we're standing. We don't feel that anymore. Now it's just cold. That temperature has really dropped pretty significantly and continues to drop. Every time we look around, we realize it's become a little bit colder. So changing conditions for these firefighters, which is always tough for them, of course, they have certainly got their work cut out for them, especially if these winds continue, which they unfortunately are expected to. Alex, Marla.
Yes, indeed, Chelsea. Thank you so much. Now to Christy Fajardo, who has been right in the middle of Pacific Palisades and sees some of the most destructive images. Christy, what are we looking at now?
Well, this is Palisades Charter Elementary, where we were the last time you saw me live about 15 minutes ago. I was down the street, but it got too dangerous to be there, so we had to clear out. We were told that dozens and dozens of homes were on fire. It kind of felt like a wind tunnel, and so we decided it wasn't safe. And as we were coming back, the wind shifted again, so we were able to get a closer look at Palisades Charter Elementary. You could see some buildings are on fire, but if we pan, Gino Arias, who's behind, if you pan to the right, you could see others are not on fire. So we don't know at this point how much of the school has been impacted, but certainly it does not look good. And we want to walk down and get away from this because we're starting to feel the heat from these flames. But we can see all around us the little patches of vegetation that are on fire. And we heard firefighters say that it's like trying to stop a tornado. And essentially, we've witnessed that. We would see wind gusts come in and embers flying all around us. How can anyone stop that? You really can't. And that is what firefighters fear and what they are dealing with at this hour. And if we pan that way, I want to show you, that is the Frontier Communications building. Again, we're on Swamp Floor, and I've been talking about those winds, and you can see evidence of them right now. We're getting pelted by the winds, and you also see swirling embers all around us. But that is the latest from where we are. We'll send it back to you.
Christy, we'll allow you to get to safety. Christy Fajardo, and tremendous work out there, and tremendous work by Gino Arias, the photographer. You think about these photographers who are out there in the elements, carrying the camera around, sometimes walking backwards, trying to stay upright in these winds with the flames coming at them in all different directions for hours. We've been on the air now for 12, 15 hours. And just incredible work by our crews and incredible work by the firefighters out there as well. Big thanks to our crews out in the field.
And of course, the reporters who have to talk during these episodes with the wind gusts, with the masks, with the embers hitting them, the whole nine. So thank you to all of our crews out there. Again, another live look here from our Santa Monica cam and the flames that continue to burn out of control at this hour. We keep showing you the same numbers because we haven't gotten anything new from fire officials. It's just too hard and too late at night. We hope to hear from CAL FIRE soon, but at last check, just under 3,000 acres have burned. We know that it obviously exceeds that. As we're approaching the 9 o'clock hour, we want to thank you for watching us. We're both broadcast on Fox 11 and also Channel 13, which is Fox 11 Plus. And our coverage will continue. We're staying here to bring you live coverage of not just the Palisades fire, but also the Eaton fire, where Gina Silva is getting set up for a live report in just a few more minutes.
Right. So we are staying with you throughout the night with rare live primetime coverage here on Fox 11. We're going to be with you through at least 11:30. There is a lot more still developing on both.
That hillside just behind me, we're at the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Temescal Canyon, and it's just a nightmare up there. There's houses that are fully engulfed, burning to the ground, burning the vegetation. The wind is stoking the flames, blasting embers around. It's completely worst case scenario for firefighters who are doing all they can to rescue as many people, properties, everything they can do. Just to about, across the street really is another apartment building where they tried to save as many of the units as they could. It was just a complete loss, though. Just a dramatic firefight. You're looking at Temescal Canyon. I think, Greg, you're showing obviously there's down power lines there, and then just beyond the fence line there is Palisades High School. Let's take some video. I think we have video of this from earlier, where the flames were really kind of going there at the high school. We don't know the extent of the damage. I don't know if you can hear that wind. I'm trying to block the mic as best as possible so you don't have to hear these crazy gusts. But there were a number of firefighters just swarming the high school trying to get a hold of the fire there. It's not clear what burned there. It's it's tough to see from this perspective if it was an outbuilding, sort of athletic buildings, or if they were classrooms. It's very difficult, but there were a number of visible flames coming from different locations on the campus. So we don't know exactly the extent of the damage there. But there was a theater also across the street that was also damaged. And I don't know, Greg, can we show, I don't know if you can come back here live, but oh, wow, okay. We're getting hit really hard right now. Okay, so there's utility power lines and broken utility poles along Temescal Canyon, and right now, again, we're getting hammered by the wind, and my mask blew away. So I'm in a great situation. So there's utility lines down, power lines broken, and I don't know if you can hear that. There's explosions in the distance. It sounds like propane tanks, possibly. These are typical sounds that we hear when we cover these fires. We're spinning back around for you, kind of getting a shot back into the hillside there behind me, where there's just a ton of fire and smoke up there. These manic winds are just absolutely wreaking havoc on the firefight and making the situation just so untenable for firefighters. We did speak with a few people who were in the area and trying to get out, and one evacuee. There's obviously a lot of frustration, a lot of worry. People want to know what they're going to come home to, and it's just so early in this fight that it's unclear what they'll be coming home to. This is also not far from the location earlier we showed you, where a bunch of people were in their cars trying to escape the fire, and they abandoned their cars thinking maybe that they would, the fire might catch up with them. So they got out of their cars and literally ran for what they thought was running for their lives. Those cars bulldozed off to the side of the road there. That's very close to where we are right now. But yeah, just look at that hillside. Look at that house that's burning up there. It's just so intense. I mean, every single direction there is glowing fire, and it's very apocalyptic.
You know what's so sad too, Tom, is we're not able to identify everything that we're looking at here. Buildings that could possibly be burning. That we know of, even structures that we know of, and that really makes it, it makes it pretty bad all the way around, even for people that are watching and, probably just waiting with, bated breath to hear if we can tell them something about their homes or structures in their neighborhood that they're familiar with. But it's so very difficult right now because there are so many structures on fire, so many areas actually. We just heard that even in the city of Santa Monica that this fire they have evacuations there. So this is just a very, very unusual historic event that makes it so sad, because we're doing our best to give pertinent information to everyone, which first and foremost is, if you're under evacuation, just get out.
And it may not be till daybreak, Pat, right, that people are going to get a chance to see what exactly these structures are that have burned. And, it's been one devastating scene, one after the other.
It certainly has. And we hope, Tom, you can find another mask, because you can just imagine if the winds are going to pick up again, as we understand is the case, and that's going to be even worse for our correspondents there. Okay, well, we're going to let Tom catch his breath in the meantime and go back out to KCAL News reporter Lori Paris. She continues our live team coverage, and you are in Malibu now off PCH.
If you're missing 5 or more teeth and live in Salt Lake City, I need you to listen to what I've got to say. You might not know this, but it only takes 1 minute to find out if you may be eligible for a permanent solution for your dental problems. And you get them in only 24 hours.
Wow! Almost hard to believe our eyes. Behind me this afternoon, just after 4:30, we were looking here at homes and a neighborhood and buildings, a condo building and several homes. Now there
Embers have hit that, and over to the far side, right at the edge of the cliff, we saw some fire engines, fire units moving in there a little while ago to try to maybe stop the spread of the fire if they can. In a sense, when you say that, just basically try to stop the flow of the embers as they go through. And Mikey, over here through all of these trees, fire everywhere you look. That is looking up along Sunset westbound toward the Highlands, where the fire actually began several hours ago. That hillside is now lit up again, roaring, and especially it comes to life with a huge wall of flame.
You know, we've been hearing so much about Pacific Palisades, but there's so much going on here in Malibu as well. And I want to show you some new video that we got just within the last half hour. We went north of here, north of Topanga Canyon Boulevard, in between Topanga Canyon Boulevard and Tuna Canyon Boulevard. And there are several houses on fire there, at least 4 houses that we could see were burning, along with so many of the businesses in that area that are just all the way to the studs now, just gone, including, you know, for people who've been up in this area, you know, the Oasis Center, that's a place where they sell like furniture and plants, etc. Very famous, iconic place. Also the Rosenthal wine bar and restaurant, that is also gone. The 7-Eleven that's right there, there's nothing that remains of it. I mean, it's really, you know, Tom used the word, you know, just insane earlier, and it really is like that. It's just so hard to grasp what we were seeing, because we'd driven by these homes and these businesses so many times, even today, and then to come back a few hours later and it's gone. I don't know how to describe to people how that feels. It's hard to believe your eyes and what your mind is telling you, but sadly it is so true. So many people tonight, of course, homeowners, hopefully have evacuated and are safe, you know, but they are no doubt watching this coverage and hoping that their home is not among those that have already caught on fire. But, you know, this is has already been a very long night, and it looks like it will continue to be so with the kinds of conditions that we are seeing here in Malibu. Guys, back to you.
All righty, Lori, thank you. And speaking of evacuations for the Palisades fire, those have been now expanded.
KCAL assignment editor Mike Rogers at the desk now. Mike, you're going to show us the areas that are now included.
Yeah, and we're talking about the Palisades fire here, and I'm just listening to some radio traffic. There's a couple of additional things going on in the Palisades. I'm listening to them talk about another kind of situation that we saw in Pasadena, where you have a home that may need to be evacuated with 40 patients in it. So they're trying to coordinate an emergency ambulance transport to do that situation. We saw what happened over in Pasadena, Altadena, the Eaton fire, where unfortunately they ended up in a parking lot of a 7-Eleven in wheelchairs and hospital beds. So they're trying obviously to avoid that in the Palisades fire. So I'm listening to them coordinate that. Additionally, it sounds like somebody has some burn injuries near Duke's Malibu that they're trying to get that person out as well. So I wanted to give you those 2 updates. I also want to show you these evacuations here because we have now included the city of Santa Monica in these evacuations. There are both mandatory and voluntary evacuations in the city of Santa Monica. Then I'll show you this on the map here. This is San Vicente Boulevard. This is San Vicente Boulevard. The voluntary evacuations basically run from 26th Street to the north, San Vicente to the west, Montana to the south, and then you have PCH, of course, right there. So that stretch of Santa Monica, the city of Santa Monica, is under a voluntary evacuation. And then to the north of it, this very small stretch of the city of Santa Monica has that red up north of the San Vicente. And again, the Riviera Country Club, which we've told you about, has been under evacuation for a long time. The other very concerning thing is for people to the north of the fire, because look, now we have the mandatory evacuations and voluntary evacuations up into Calabasas. We were really surprised to see this, to be honest with you. This is the 101 freeway. So now we have all of this area under a voluntary evacuation, and then you've got even portions of it up here in the Topanga area in the canyon. This is Topanga Canyon Highway, which has been closed all day, but now this is also under a mandatory stretch of evacuations. And once again, as we've been talking about, now even Pepperdine is once again in an evacuation area. All these poor people that just were dealing with this with the Franklin fire, now under an evacuation warning here as well. I want to show you a camera here from our traffic cameras. This is from the 405 freeway, and that is the fire you can see from the 405 freeway. We've been able to see this fire from LAX. We've been able to see this fire from Mount Wilson. We've been able to see this fire from really incredible distances, and it just really shows you the magnitude. And as you're looking at those live pictures in the box there on the bottom of your screen, I want to point out that that is actually in Altadena. That is the Pasadena fire, the Eaton fire that we've been talking about as well. We're going to get more of an update on, but that has burned 400 acres, you guys.
You know what, Mike? Let me ask you a question. You said it's that fire that you were talking about, well, the evacuation in the Palisades area. When it's possibly is it a hospital or senior?
It sounds like potentially like a senior home or something that they said. The reason they're thinking ahead, and to be clear, it's not in immediate danger at this moment, but they know. I'm listening to it right now. They know that it's going to be a large undertaking to evacuate that way. When you have to evacuate homes like this, you have to do it with ambulances. This isn't just get in your car and leave. So the undertaking of getting that many ambulances together and being able to coordinate that in an effective and non-harmful way to the people that are already in kind of sensitive medical issues is something that they're trying to start thinking about. And
makes sense.
Yeah, and so I'm just listening to some of the radio traffic.
No, I totally get it, and it makes sense for them to do that because that's a preemptory effort, if you will.
Yeah.
Before it could possibly get to the point where they really need to evacuate, then why not get those people out now?
Yeah, especially if they've got a little bit of the time right now, then that's the best situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Mike.
Mike, thank you. Well, the winds are expected to get even stronger within the hour.
And that's so hard to imagine what else can happen from here. But KCAL meteorologist Danny Ribera.
PCH, and there's no homes on this side of PCH, so that's a good thing. I think the damage has really just been done in these communities, though, unfortunately, that are on the other side of PCH. We're just seeing utter devastation here. Just incredible to watch. I mean, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. There are times where I just look up and it's so surreal. I feel like we're on a movie set, not actually standing in reality here. But this is unfortunately the reality of these wind events like this. I mean, there's only so much that firefighters can do. There's only so many preventative measures that people can take. And this is the situation that we're in. And unfortunately, because this wind event is going to keep going, it's hard to say what's going to happen overnight. What's going to happen as these winds continue to kick up. Again, right now they're kind of calm, but then we just get slammed with these huge gusts that kind of knock us around. So that's certainly happening up in the hills as well, and coming down these hills and going toward the ocean. So hoping that everybody is out of their homes, and just feeling for all of these people, all of these homeowners who have lost everything here tonight.
All right, Chelsea, yes, it is a devastating night all the way around. Thank you so much. We want to get to our coverage of the Eaton fire. This is burning in Altadena. This is a live look from our Mount Wilson camera there, and this has exploded to at least 400 acres. We do have some really, speaking of devastating images of the evacuation of a senior center. If we can bring that up to show our viewers here. This is, in fact, a live look. We have our Gina Silva. She's there on the ground, and this is her photographer bringing these live images. So it is a senior center that is being evacuated, and you see all of these poor people in wheelchairs, many with masks on, dealing with a lot of different issues. And then they have to reckon with the wind, the flames nearby, and just the uncertainty that they must be feeling, how insecure they must be feeling as well. Do we have our report? No. But who we do have on the line is from the city of Pasadena, Lisa Dedirdian. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Thank you for being with us tonight. What can you tell us about the Eaton fire and how it's impacting the city of Pasadena?
Yeah, as you mentioned, over 400 plus acres have now been impacted. Over 1,000 homes are threatened. We are currently requesting 50 strike teams. Each strike team's 5 engines, so numerous personnel. They could be coming from out of state to support us. We did evacuate that assisted living facility with the help of our police department. We have set up a shelter at the Pasadena Convention Center. And we do have mandatory evacuations. We ask that people please heed to those. We're taking this very seriously, especially when we see what's been going on all day in the Palisades. When we tell you to evacuate, please do so. And please be prepared for those also in the outside just the jurisdictions for evacuation.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much, and we will check back in with you later tonight. We want to go to the ground right now. Gina Silva is talking. Let's Gina, I'm not sure if you can hear us.
I'm Buddy.
So he was just telling me, the gentleman was nice enough to tell us that they were rescuing 92 patients.
Yes.
And describe for us just how quickly that fire got to the facility.
I'm not really sure. I just got here like 7 o'clock. I'm a night shift. Yeah.
Are all of the patients okay?
Yeah, they're fine.
I'll let you know. Thank you. Obviously, he's very busy, but just take a look. I know that we were at the nursing facility, and all of the patients were being put on gurneys and being transported to other locations, and that's what you're seeing here. 92 patients have been transported. When we were there, the fire was jumping the road and obviously getting way too close to that nursing facility. We're not sure if in fact it's going to survive, but it's not looking good. Again, this fire just with these winds, you can see how strong they are, and it has just been unbelievable. Excuse me, are you guys with the nursing facility? Yeah. Get out of the way. It's so chaotic here. We certainly don't want to get in the way of the firefighters and the rescue teams, but there are some family members here also who are concerned for their loved ones, but look, they're being taken in. This Pasadena SWAT vehicle is one of the transporters. I believe that's the case. Maybe I'm wrong. But were some of the patients transported in that?
I believe so.
Yeah, they were? Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, they're using whatever they can. So they were transporting some patients there. I can see them inside in the Pasadena SWAT vehicle. They're using whatever they can to get these patients out of harm's way. And you can see that it is just absolutely just devastating out here. This fire is growing so fast. Again, it started at 6:30 with just about 20 acres, and it has just grown and grown. It's more than 200 now, beyond that. And there are so many people that were obviously stranded, unable to leave by themselves. And you are watching these elderly folks being helped out of this location. Again, we're at Washington and Boulevard in Altadena. This is where they brought them from the nursing facility. And again, that nursing facility was just too close to that fire. It was jumping the road, and I have just received notice that it's now 400 acres. So it just keeps growing and growing, and these winds are just not stopping, as you can see.
Gina, do you have any idea where they're taking these patients?
It's so hard to hear you say that one more time.
So sorry. Do you have any idea where they are transporting all of these patients?
I have no idea where they're transported. Let me ask it. I hate to interrupt people when they're doing their job because they're trying to rescue these folks who are elderly. They're not in the best of shape, health-wise, and so I got to let them do their jobs. But I'm sure they're being transported to different hospitals. Excuse me, ma'am. Where are the patients being transported to?
They're going to many places. We have transfer agreements with all the facilities. So.
Different hospitals or different nursing facilities?
They're going to different. Some are going to the different facilities, civic center, and a hospital, and maybe a hospital. Everybody's going to a different location. Civic center for sure, another skilled nursing facility.
Thank you so much for letting us know. So there is your answer. They're going to different facilities, but just take a look at the atmosphere here. Just this wind is just unbelievable. It is just wicked, and the smoke, obviously, very difficult to breathe out here. And where we are, the fire is not that close to where we are, but you can see the smoke is still trouble, and also the wind
the wind is just not dying down.
Yeah, although we are seeing some embers right there, Gina, that Joab's showing us right now, and we know how quickly those embers can move in this sort of wind. Man, you think about how a fire impacts so many different people that you don't even necessarily think of. Those horses that Gina showed us, all these people and animals and all the rest of it that are impacted by this. But this scene is something that I'll never forget of all these folks who, need as much help as they can and the desperate effort to help them.
And Gina, to be clear, the nursing home that they were in is a ways away and was getting close. The flames were getting close to that. So then they evacuated them to this location.
Yes, this is the location where they brought them. When I got to the nursing home, there were still seniors there, and they were transporting them in ambulances and different vehicles, even in police vehicles, to this location. And from here, as you can see, they're taking them in all different kinds of vehicles. Even the Pasadena SWAT vehicle was transporting these elderly patients, and they're going to different facilities. Again, this is because of that fire that is just absolutely out of control right now. And we were told over 90 patients are being transported to the different facilities. But you can see here, it's such a chaotic scene right now.
Hey, everyone else, get in your vehicles and evacuate. All patients are good. Everyone get out of here if you can, all right? Stop moving out the area. Be careful. All right, good work, guys. Good work.
All right, so they're asking everybody to evacuate. Let me see if I can. Sir?
There's more patients down there if you guys want to record it down at the bottom, just with the wood chairs. They took them down.
Where are they?
Down at the bottom, like about two lights down.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Oh my goodness, this is just crazy.
It is crazy.
Scene out here.
It is crazy. Gina, just in your travels, did you see any structures burning in Altadena?
Yes, we did see a couple of structures burning. And like I said, that nursing home, I had to leave because it looked like it was about to go up. And the fire was already crossing the road. And part of the reason why it took us a little bit to get here was that my photographer and I, Joab Perez, we got separated. And when he tried to cross to get to my location, the fire was it was just too much. He couldn't get through. It was right in the middle of the road, and he had to go around. So it's just been a very, it's such a difficult time for the people who are living in this area. This Eaton fire is just out of control, and this wind is just not helping.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at that street sign that is being completely barreled over by the winds.
Which could be a very dangerous projectile if that thing separates too. Wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. And again, the name of that facility is the Two Palms Nursing Center. Two Palms Nursing Center. Are you with the facility?
No, I'm not with the facility. I'm just a helper bystander. Yes.
And you're saying how many more patients
There's
are
like about 6 or 7 down there. That's where we're heading down there right now.
How far down?
Like about two streets down.
Streets down?
Yes.
Well, it's a difficult call. We either walk down, we leave our vehicles here, and we don't know if the fire is going to get any closer. But we'll try to head on down.
Yeah, why don't you take a beat and you guys discuss amongst yourself the way that you think is safest for you to go. We don't want to put any pressure on you in terms of that. And we will go back to you when you think that it's safe. But wow, what a scene. What a scene right there. And the human drama of all, and looks like some great work by everybody and getting everybody out quickly.
That was something to
Team
see.
effort. Wow.
The seniors being in wheelchairs, being put into SWAT vehicles to be taken to another senior facility or a nearby hospital. We wish all of them the best, of course. 92 in all is what we're hearing. Evacuated from the Two Palms nursing facility. This is the live picture from Mount Wilson. When we first reported this fire, more than 90 minutes ago, it was 10, 20 acres, and there was just a small plume here, and now that has just exploded And it reminds us of the Palisades Fire, of course. It's the other big fire that we're covering and have been covering since that one erupted almost 12 hours ago at 10:30 this morning.
Takes up our whole screen now. It was just a small blip not that long ago. All right, let's go back to the other fire burning in Southern California. Christy Fajardo with the Palisades Fire. Christy.
Yeah, in just the last couple of minutes, we started getting very, very heavy gusts. It's basically pushing us around. And when that happened, all the flames, everything that was on fire just exploded. The flames just got so much bigger. And in the last live shot I showed you, this is Palisades Charter Elementary, and it is on fire. When we went up the steps to look, we saw that some buildings were burning, others were not. Over here, it looks like something, perhaps a rock wall, has also caught fire. And this is the backside of the school. This is the part on Swarthmore. And even in the last 10 minutes, if we pan that way, I can show you a house caught fire. And further down the road, multiple homes are burning. In fact, there was a man who drove out who told us that dozens of homes were on fire. And as we were going down there, it became too dangerous, so we had to turn around. But the conditions are just worsening. They're not improving for firefighters. These winds are just blowing embers all over the place. And we're seeing palm trees catch fire. Sadly, homes, a school, also businesses on De La Cruz. Business there looks like it's a total loss. It's right next to the Frontier Communications building. Vegetation on the Frontier's Communication building has also burned, but fortunately does not look like the building has. And down the road from us, going in the opposite direction, closer to Villa de la Paz, we are starting to finally see firefighting resources. We saw a couple of fire trucks in that other direction, and just a few minutes ago, a CAL FIRE pickup went through here and seemed to be surveying the area. And if we pan to the right, see another home is burning. And again, as I said, a man told us that further down the street, he saw dozens and dozens of homes burning. He's a property owner. He had gone to check on his properties. He said it was not safe. So he got out. He also advised us not to go down there either. And this is the house that I showed you earlier. And now it looks like it's a total loss. That house there was on fire, then caught this one on fire. And if we pan to the right, you can see these flames and the rain of embers have ignited other homes on fire as well. So that is the latest right now from Swarthmore. Let's send it back to you.
One devastating scene after the other. Christy Fajardo, thank you. You and your crew stay safe. We have some new video into the newsroom, and this is from a stringer, a photographer on the scene from TNLA, Sal Hirsch, who shot some video of an injured firefighter being rescued by CAL FIRE, it looks like, getting tended to here. And I believe that Sal is on the line with us right now. Sal, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for the great work that you do. So tell us about this incident. This is while fighting the Palisades Fire, one injured firefighter.
Yeah, that's right. I'm not exactly sure what agency that firefighter was with, but they put out a Mayday call. Apparently, she may have had some sort of blow to the head, and she was in unknown condition. So we were just right down the street filming some of the destruction that ensued prior to that incident, and we got there pretty quick, and we saw CAL FIRE crews as well as some LAFD personnel lifting her on a on a thing, and they put her on the back of a pickup truck and ended up transporting her out of the fire zone. So it was definitely a pretty hectic scene, very crazy, and I just hope she's going to be okay.
Was she conscious? Was she talking to them?
It looked like her eyes were open. I didn't see her physically talking or anything, but her eyes were open, which is a good sign.
So this is the Palisades Fire. What location was this within the Palisades?
This was on Bowdoin Street and Villa de la Paz.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, we've been reporting all day, you know, and it's been great to report. The only good thing that we can report is we haven't heard of any injuries. So at least we know of, unfortunately, at least one firefighter injured in this firefight. Did you see anyone else being treated while you were there?
No, not while I was there. That was luckily the only injury that I did witness. But like I said, you know, just hope she's going to be okay. So.
Can you talk to us about your reporting experience tonight? What's it been like for you out on the roads?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been the most apocalyptic scene that you can imagine. I mean, we've been here all day. We have a team of 5 photographers that have been here all day. And, you know, it started off, you know, obviously very intense and everything. But as, you know, the winds kind of intensified towards the evening, things just have gotten way out of control. The fire activity is extremely erratic. The wind is just so unpredictable, blowing in all directions. You know, they had to cancel the aircraft from above, so that was a big, you know, a big blow for firefighting efforts, but necessary. And, you know, it's just, like I said, it's just extremely apocalyptic. That's the only way to really describe it.
Wow. Well, we hope that you and your crew remain safe. Sal Hirsch, freelance photographer from TNLA. Thanks so much for the work that you do.
Thank you.
He was talking about the winds. Let's talk more about the winds from the expert on that front. Our meteorologist, Adam Kruger, has been tracking that all day.
Yeah, guys, and so as expected, the winds intensifying tonight. We're seeing that just play out in the video. It's just amazing images. I'm going to start with some of the evacuation maps, though, and I want to remind anyone who's around this area, might be concerned, you can see this for yourself at fire.ca.gov. You can zoom in street level and see whatever you want. But this is for the Eaton fire now, so we're looking north of Pasadena. We have this large red area. That's an evacuation order. That's mandatory. Then we have evacuation warnings, which are optional, but they may change over to orders. So people in the warning areas need to be ready to go if that order comes through. We see this now south of the evacuation order, but also now east, just north of Sierra Madre. We see an evacuation order there as well. Give you a little perspective. Here's Pasadena, and this little spot right here on the left side of your screen is the Rose Bowl. So again, we're talking about this area kind of north and northeast of Pasadena. That's the Eaton fire. Then, of course, you know about what's going on in the Pacific Palisades. We have that evacuation order that extends to just into the northern section of Santa Monica. This is San Vicente right here. And so north or west of there, that's the evacuation order. And then we have this area known as north of Montana. So here's Montana in Santa Monica. North of there in this yellow zone, that's the evacuation warning, which again is optional, but you need to be ready to go if that turns into an order. All right, now looking at the wind forecast. And again, we're just getting into it. We can see from the video that the winds are starting to spike at their strongest that we've had all day long. We can hear it outside of our building here. I haven't been here that long, less than a year, but I've never heard winds from inside our studio before outside, and we're getting that happening right now. We have had wind gusts pick up around Pacific Palisades. We're looking at a forecast right here, but gusts have been measured 40, 50, maybe 60 miles per hour. There's a few and far between instruments, weather instruments there around the Pacific Palisades. But over towards Pasadena, Altadena, around the Eaton fire, we have had some, there's more weather stations there, and some of those are measuring around the foothills wind gusts up to about 60 miles per hour. But you get up into the mountain peaks, and we've seen some gusts around 80 plus miles per hour around that Eaton fire. And now as we look at the forecast, again, going through the night, look at these big numbers right here. Many spots, according to this model, projected to see wind gusts at or above 60 miles per hour. And it's going to be like this pretty much all night long. I'll just get out of the way. So here's a look at midnight. This is a widespread thing for a lot of Southern California. We hope other fires don't break out, because if they do, they're going to spread very quickly like what we've seen so far. Here we go into 4 o'clock in the morning. Not a whole lot has changed. Notice, though, the colors kind of filling in around more of Los Angeles as we get into about sunrise. Here's 8 a.m. Model says gusts around 50 in Santa Monica, which we've already seen tonight, and then maybe gusts around 50 in LA. Now, even, aside from the fire risk, there's just the fact that we could see wind damage over a large part of Southern California because of how strong these winds are. Trees could come down. We've seen some instances of that. We had a crazy live view with Christy, who was reporting, and a tree fell on a power line. Sparks were flying, and so there may be more of that starting to happen as we go through the night. That's another thing to watch for. Here as we go through the day tomorrow, notice once we get past noon, it's not as intense as what we've been seeing. We'll be past the worst of it by that point, and the wind warnings expire at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Also, the humidity running very low. We've seen it below 20% today. It will get drier, though, as we go into tomorrow. Relative humidity drops below 10% in some spots. So again, winds are picking up right now. They'll be at their peak really from about now through about 9 a.m. and the humidity goes lower tomorrow. Two things working against us. Just to kind of wrap this all up with a map of the warnings, we've got that high wind warning, all areas in yellow, most of Southern California. That's in effect until 6 p.m. tomorrow. And then we see the red flag warnings, which has to do with the wind and the dry conditions and conditions that are favorable for fires to spread. So that's in effect through Wednesday, but also Thursday, not for LA and parts of LA County, but all these other areas. This remains in effect into Thursday. And then the last thing I'm going to show you here is a fire weather watch that extends into Friday. So this is an area that may switch over to a red flag warning once we get a little closer to it, which means this is basically 4 days, likely it'll end up being 4 days of red flag warnings. The worst of the winds, yes, they end after the end of the day tomorrow, but still it's going to be breezy with dry conditions and some type of Santa Ana winds likely to last into Friday. And so, you know, it's a long week here. It's already been a long day. It's going to be a long week where we really need to pay close attention to what's going on. We'll head back to you now.
All right, Adam, we thank you so much. Let's bring in Christy Fajardo. She's had some really dangerous situations behind her, and she joined us now live from the firefight in the Palisades. Christy?
Yeah, Marla, we have talked so much about how this is a wind-driven fire and also how unpredictable it is. And we're seeing evidence of that right here. When we walked by 5 minutes ago, you did not see all of these embers that are flying. And we'll get a gust, and then you'll see them fly up into the air. You can see some over there. And if you watch closely, they're going in different directions. It's almost like a whirlwind. And they're landing on homes. And if we pan that way, you can see something is burning behind there. I know that there is a power pole that is on fire, but that much of a glow suggests that it's something much larger as well. And those embers that you saw flying are actually coming from Palisades Charter Elementary. Something is burning right on the other side of that fence. We've watched that fire come in our direction. We're actually on Swarthmore, and the rain of embers have ignited other fires. In fact, I showed you some homes that were burning earlier. Now we're seeing multiple trees, and at one point it looked like a car was going to go on fire. There were palm fronds that were underneath it that were burning, and Gino, who is behind the camera, thought very quickly, and he was able to move those fronds away from that car, and that car luckily does not appear to be damaged. But unfortunately, there's really nothing we can do to save the homes and the elementary school and the other buildings that we see burning. And also, you heard firefighters and the LAPD telling people to evacuate hours ago. And this is why the visibility is really, really poor. And you adding to that all the smoke and also the wind. In fact, Gino, can you pan this way? Look at what the embers are doing now. Gino, pan towards the school. Look, I want to show you. There just was one giant gust, and there we go again. Embers just flying everywhere. And this is what firefighters are having to deal with, and why they say this is like trying to stop a tornado. There's really nothing you can do when these embers are whipping around like this and landing on homes and landing on vegetation. They'll ignite sometimes blocks and blocks away, so they can be fighting a fire in one area and not even know that another is on fire. So witnessing very, very tough conditions tonight for the firefight. Let's send it back to you.
That's an understatement, as you know, Christy, and it's tough for you to be out there in the crew. We appreciate you so much. This is the Palisades Fire. We want to turn our attention back to the Eaton fire. This one erupted at 6:30 tonight, so it's been about 3 hours. This is our live picture from our Mount Wilson camera, and those flames now pretty much enveloping this whole hillside. At least 400 acres have burned. We just showed you, and we've heard from you on social media about just how horrifying and heartbreaking the images are that we brought you live of those seniors, more than 90 of them being evacuated from a senior facility taken by SWAT, in fact, to other local facilities. Gina Silva, she's moved. You're on the ground. Where are you now?
Yes, sadly, what you're watching is a house on fire. This is the 2300 block of Galbraith Road. And unfortunately, when we got here, it was, fully engulfed. LA County firefighters immediately arrived, and as you can see, they are putting out the flames. There is a person here with a water hose who has been watering down the house, but it wasn't doing much until the firefighters arrived. One of the neighbors, what is the
My neighbor, Luis. Luis.
Luis, so you guys were out here trying to help out?
I live right up the corner there. We live in the same building together. We were told to evacuate a while ago, and we went down and dropped some stuff off, but I came back up here because I saw all these spot fires coming up here, and I can't help but feel bad for all the people who live here. And we've never had a fire like this, I don't think, as far as I've been alive, at least not down this close. So,
I mean, describe the wind conditions out here.
Oh, it's bad. It's horrific. I mean, just driving in the car, if you don't see any trees around, the car shakes like it's an earthquake. Yeah. That's how strong it is.
Luis, how are you holding up? ¿Cómo estás?
It's fine. Everything is fine. Yeah. So. No problem. Yeah.
Where's your house? ¿Dónde está tu casa?
Yeah, this one. It's in the front.
And it's okay.
Yeah. It's fine.
How long have you lived over here?
About 3 years there. I think they lived there a lot longer.
And your house is okay right now?
Is okay? Yeah. I think it's okay. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
Well, they're making really quick work. Obviously, the LA County firefighters. Oh. It's an emotional reunion. They hadn't seen each other.
It's so funny. This is one of my best friends from high school.
Oh. How are you holding up?
Under better circumstances, it'd be so much nicer.
You hadn't seen each other?
In years. A long time. So last person I expect to see him is this guy, but somehow he found his way up here.
Yeah, how are you? I've been asking everybody how you're holding up with this.
I live in La Quiana, Flores, but my godmother, she lives down the road, and so I was on my way to her house because she got told to evacuate. And then I saw this, and we all just pitched in to help.
Yeah, I saw everybody moving in, using water. Unfortunately, it wasn't doing much because the flames were so strong. But as soon as the firefighters arrived, you can see now that the flames are out. There are obviously some hot spots, but, not as what it was, when we first got here. And I got to tell you, we were doing the live report with the senior citizens who were being rescued, and we ended up walking a couple of blocks. And we talk about how fast these fires move. My car was parked at a 7-Eleven parking lot, and I decided to walk back to get my car to come to this location. And as soon as I got there, there was a brush on fire there near my car. Had I not picked it up, it probably would have gone up in flames as well. So it just moves so fast. These winds are just like something we've never seen before, or not in a very long time. And these embers, they just fly for miles and miles and start new fires, new hotspots. It's just absolutely insane. So far, as we've been reporting, it started at 6:30 with only 20 acres. It now has gone beyond 400 acres, and it's growing. It's just not, we're not seeing any help from Mother Nature whatsoever. I'll send it back to you guys.
No, and in fact, overnight, the winds are supposed to pick up, as we've been hearing from our chief meteorologist, Adam Kruger, well into the morning. So the firefight will be a brutal one. We're not going to sugarcoat it at all, because that would just be false information. We wish that we could bring you better news, but the winds are still going to pick up overnight, with those wind gusts in the Palisades clocking in at some points, perhaps at 70 plus miles per hour. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition.
And because of that, even if you don't live in one of these areas that is having a fire right now, but you live in an area that is fire prone, this is a good time to make sure you have your bags packed and you have your valuables ready to go, because the chance of another fire like this starting somewhere else in Southern California tonight is not insignificant. It would not be surprising if we looked at number 3 like this. So if this is a time to make sure your bags are packed, your stuff is ready to go, if need be, you've thought it through, so you're not shocked and surprised if in the middle of tonight, something else breaks out, because the winds are supposed to be even worse between 10 p.m., which we're about to get to, and 5 a.m. And the likelihood of another fire starting somewhere else is very high tonight. And so just know that as you get ready to go to bed tonight.
We want to take you to right outside the scene of Palisades High School, Palisades Charter High School, which we know their athletics fields burned and also some of the classrooms caught fire. Here's Matthew Seedorf with photographer Sam Dubin.
You can see we can walk across the street. This is towards the football stadium. I believe that is the score box on fire as we're going to turn this way with all these embers flying. I do have an anemometer with me. It's measuring winds gusting to 35, 40 miles per hour with flames on the other side of the street as well. Let's see if I can push this way. And I'm actually with photojournalist Sam Dubin. You went to this high school, Sam. If you don't mind, what's this like?
It's heartbreaking. This is my alma mater. The baseball field's totally gone. Some of the buildings are gone. This house across the street's gone. This is the newer aquatic center, the Maggie Gilbert Aquatic Center. Looks okay right now. The classrooms appear okay, but it's just heartbreaking for everyone who went to this school. A lot of people have gone here over the years.
Yeah, I can't imagine just seeing that, especially as your alma mater. And we're looking at, looks like the pool right now, and then looking across the street, so we're battling these winds. More buildings have burned down, and just this thick black smoke. Again, winds, it just stings because of all this debris flying around. Looking at my anemometer, gust 25 miles an hour right now, but we've seen probably close to 40. It's hard to put this into words, seeing this home up here on fire and all these other structures and even a high school. I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
Matthew, thank you so much. Live picture from Santa Monica, our Santa Monica camera looking out at those flames there. We've seen this all afternoon since this fire broke out at 10:30. We want to show you the scene earlier, though, and this was one of the most surreal images that we've seen today. In addition to all the homes that have burned, this scene here, these are a lot of cars that were abandoned by their car owners when they just got too afraid because the flames were closing in on them, and they abandoned their vehicles, and as a result it blocked this entire roadway. And so to get through, emergency vehicles needed to get through, and so LA Fire came in with a bulldozer and bulldozed all the cars out of the way, and many of them, Alex, have been deemed total losses as a result.
Yeah, and just moved them like toys. And some really nice cars we're looking at in a really nice neighborhood. So we want to play for you if you're just joining us and you were at work earlier today and want information from the press briefing. Here is, you're about to hear from the fire department spokesperson, the chief of LAPD, and the chief of the LA Fire Department. Here's some of what they had to say a few hours ago.
The questions about abandoned cars, that's a good question that has come up. Law enforcement assists us heavily with evacuation, but please remember it's an active incident. We don't have the answers to all of these questions. We will certainly look at that. That's very important. I don't know if police felt like they wanted to make a mention to evacuations. Okay.
Yeah, just on that question of evacuations, vehicles left in the roadway. If you have to leave a vehicle in the roadway, get it as far off the road as you can so that emergency vehicles can get by. The gist of moving them with bulldozers was an emergency situation. You got to get those fire resources through, and they do what they have to do to be able to facilitate that. So we're asking really for the cooperation, and think a couple of steps ahead. It's not just your vehicle there, but then others line up behind you as well as they see what you're doing. And so I can't stress enough, please follow the evacuation orders. Do your best to be able to get out to safety. Bring the equipment you will need for the next couple of days with you, because as you've heard over and over again, this is not going to end very quickly.
No, it's not. And we're almost nearing 12 hours into this firefight in the Palisades. We've been showing you these numbers for a while now. They haven't been updated by CAL FIRE. Our next briefing, we had one at 3:30 this afternoon. That's when we heard from LAPD Chief McDonald there, who you just last heard from. He was alongside Governor Gavin Newsom as well. That next briefing of officials won't take place until 8 a.m. tomorrow from Zuma Beach. So hopefully we'll get some updated numbers. But in the meantime, obviously, we know that this whole area, much of it is under mandatory evacuation because of the strong winds that will continue well into the night, into the morning of Wednesday, January the 8th. And we're going to be on with you through at least midnight, by the way. So you can count on us. Go ahead.
So we take you from this picture. Maybe we can take our other picture, which is from Mount Wilson, which shows the Eaton fire that we are also keeping track of, and some news from Governor Newsom, who was at that press briefing earlier today in Pacific Palisades. He just announced that they have secured federal funding for the Eaton fire. So we already got federal funding for the Palisades fire earlier in the day. Now, the Eaton fire also getting federal funding from President Biden, who just happens to be in Southern California tonight. And I think is kind of grounded because of what we've seen here. So he is also part of all of this tonight. But again, these are the live pictures. And every time we take this image from the Mount Wilson camera, we see more and more flames being wider and wider. This started as just a small part of the shot, and it now extends across the entire shot. At least 400 acres burned. We know that that number is now higher than that. And we see a lot of folks scrambling in the Altadena and Pasadena neighborhoods right now because of that fire. And again, a look back at the Pacific Palisades fire, which you can see from our Santa Monica cam, and really you can see from miles and miles in many different directions. Christy Fajardo is right in the middle of those flames. She's walking right now. Christy, if you can hear us, it's yours.
Yeah, we're actually on Swarthmore, and we saw some fire engines down here, so we decided to come down to investigate. And sadly, we're seeing another, what looks like a home, completely destroyed. And what is really telling is that we keep seeing buildings like the one on the right that appear to be made of concrete. There's another one, the Frontier Communications building, that appears to be made of brick. And those are faring very well, even when vegetation is going up around them. They have not caught fire. But we've been talking about the winds, and you can see what they're doing with these embers. They hit those flames, and they just whip up all of these embers. And if we pan that way, you can see that they are carrying them down the street and towards buildings and homes that have not burned. And that is why firefighters are stretched so thin. There are so many fires burning all at once. And every one of these embers that you see flying has the potential to start another fire. So firefighters are trying to keep up with all of this, but there's really no way to do so. And over there on the right, that is actually Palisades Charter Elementary School. And sadly, we went up there, went up the steps, and we took a look. This is the back side of the school, and multiple buildings were on fire. Some of the buildings had not burned, and we can only hope that they will stay that way. But the playground, what looked like a rock wall, and other structures look like a total loss. And they've been on fire now for probably about 2 hours, and we've seen CAL FIRE coming through and looking at it, but we've not seen any firefighters actually battling the fire at the school. But again, we are on the backside of the school, and I've talked so much about those embers and what they do to palm trees, and you can see evidence of it right there. The palm tree across the street and the three that we're looking at are all on fire. And those palm fronds, unfortunately, fall off the tree or they blow away and catch something else on fire. And we've witnessed that, a house that was ignited precisely because of palm fronds that were burning were blown in its direction. And we also saw a car almost catch fire because it was parked on some palm fronds, and those caught fire from those rain of embers that you've seen. And luckily, Gino, who was behind the camera, noticed that and he was able to pull the burning palm fronds away from the car and save the car. Unfortunately, we can't do that for the buildings you see here. And most of the people in this neighborhood have evacuated, although occasionally we'll see one car go by, like the one you just saw. but most of the people did heed it, and fortunately, because you would not want a mass of people trying to evacuate now. Visibility is very poor. The winds are really, really strong. In fact, I've been standing and almost knocked off my feet. That's how powerful they occasionally are, and that's also what firefighters are dealing with and what they fear at this hour. Let's send it back to you.
Chelsea, pardon me, Christy Fajardo there. Thank you so much. Regino Arias, thank you for all of your reporting tonight. We want to go back to the Eaton fire. This is in Altadena. Gina Silva, you were just showing us a home there, and this is the live picture again from our Mount Wilson camera that shows the embers, rather the flames aglow on this Tuesday night as we approach the 10 p.m. hour. This Eaton fire erupted at 6:30 tonight. This is a multi-agency response, including from Pasadena Fire and Angeles National Forest and LA County Fire. Let's check in with Gina Silva on the ground now. Gina, are you still in that same particular neighborhood?
I'm in the same neighborhood, and you can see that there are multiple fires.
Gotta go next tree, okay? Please,
okay.
Next tree.
Thank you. Pasadena police are telling us that we have to move, and part of the reason is that we heard a loud explosion a little while ago. It was like a loud pop, Job and I were like, what was that? It did not sound good. And there are several houses that are on fire. I'm trying to get to the end of the street to find out what the name is of the street. But as you can see, this entire neighborhood is in trouble. Sir, what's the name of the street?
Bella Vista.
Del Vista?
Bella Vista.
Bella Vista. Bella Vista. So this is Bella Vista. And all of these homes have been evacuated. The officers are saying all of these houses are obviously in danger. They're in the path of this destructive fire that started at 6:30, and it continues to grow, and it is just absolutely devastating because now we're seeing multiple homes on fire, and the danger in that, of course, are the gas lines. You know, everything. I'm hoping that by now everything's been turned off, but there were still some folks in homes that did not want to leave, and officers are telling them, please, you've got to get going, you've got to leave. It is not safe. And as I told you earlier, you know, it just moves so fast. You're thinking you're safe in one location, and then boom, the next moment you're not. So it is a very precarious situation here. I believe that is Pasadena Fire. Yep, Pasadena firefighters are out there battling. We've seen LA County firefighters as well. And again, there's a mandatory evacuation order for multiple communities. We gave you the names earlier. I believe that all of those names of the streets have been the mandatory evacuation has been extended to other locations as well. But it's a very dangerous situation, and obviously you don't want to be here. I know we saw a couple of people in the other at the other home where they were just watering it down, and it wasn't making much of a difference until the firefighters arrived and doused it with their large equipment that they have, their hoses. And so that's the only way that you're going to be able to battle this fire. Other than that, a little bit of water from the small garden hose is not going to make much difference, unfortunately. Alex, Marla.
Gina, you've been covering fires for a very long time, and even some of our really bad fires lately you've been in the middle of. How does this compare to other stories you've covered over the course of your career?
Oh, this is insane. I mean, there's just no other way to describe this. We earlier, when we were showing you the woman bringing out the horses, we were surrounded by flames on both sides, and it was just getting stronger and stronger. So we had to leave that location. And of course, the wind, it is just so strong that at times it's hard to stand in one location. We've seen many downed trees. We saw that sign that was toppled over. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. I don't think I've ever seen winds this extreme.
And are you seeing that people are heeding the call to evacuate?
Yes. For the most part, people have left. There are some who are still kind of hanging around. You know, I understand it's their home. You know, they don't want to lose it. But again, your life is more important than property because that can be eventually replaced. But you want to be safe. And that's what firefighters, Police officers are always telling us, just be safe, get out, let the professionals try to handle the situation. And they are. There are so many agencies out here. There's LA County Fire, Pasadena Fire, different agencies that I cannot name right now, but I have to move out of the way here. But they're here battling it. Unfortunately, there are so many fires that are taking place right now. That's Cal Fire just arriving now, that it's impossible to be at all the places that are just going up in flames right now. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and of course, we know the last number we heard was, well, it started at 10, 20 acres, then exploded to 400. And, we're waiting for Cal Fire, perhaps. They'll be the agency to update the number. Angeles National Forest, perhaps, but it's well beyond the 400 we can imagine.
Yeah, and that's growing. That is growing. Right now, as we mentioned, the names of the streets where there are evacuation orders, that's for Kinaloa Canyon Road, Outpost Lane, Glen Springs, Coolidge, Miranda, Roosevelt, Vernada, Ken Clare, and areas east of Altadena Drive. I'm sure by now that list has grown because this fire keeps moving and spreading.
We know that you're on the Eaton fire, but we're just getting this vital information about the Palisades fire. We had shown earlier video of the female firefighter being tended to. Now we're hearing that 25-year-old female firefighter did sustain a serious head injury while fighting the Palisades fire. She was treated at the scene and then taken to a hospital. This is from LAFD itself. And then multiple burn victims, according to LAFD, were reported walking toward Duke's Malibu restaurant. We know that right on PCH, approximately 9 o'clock tonight. Again, this is according to LAFD spokesperson Captain Eric Scott. Incident operations redirected medical resources to that location to provide evaluation and treatment. So
they may be grounded until the morning when the sun comes up. So we do have some of those restrictions that may damper our suppression efforts.
You talk about the wind, and we see embers flaring, and they're just getting shot through the sky. And these are big embers, of course, coming off of these structures. How easy is it for these things to get picked up by the wind and start other spot fires in other areas?
Yeah, it's so easy. These type of winds push the embers so far. We see them sometimes 2 miles in front of the fire, landing in someone's backyard who may have dry grass or some receptive fuel bed where this ember can land and catch fire. And that's why we promote a lot of times our home hardening of, protect your home and secure your home to make sure those embers don't get into your home at any time. Anyone who's evacuating now, it's important that we remind you to lock tight your home and close those windows and shut off your gas if you're capable to, and shut off the power to the house to prevent those embers getting inside and starting your house on fire. But these embers can land anywhere and start a fire at any time. And then you have a small fire ahead of the fire that's going to merge with the main fire and create that fire to be even bigger, faster than we want it to.
We're going to zoom out here, take a wider look at the Santa Monica Mountains. This is an area of Los Angeles that is mostly mountainous. People think of LA as this large concrete metro, but there are so many large hilly areas. That's why we see so many wildfires breaking out. This specific area is a large mountainous area right in between, as I mentioned, roughly Malibu and Santa Monica. When you look at these images and you look at the forward progression, the line of fire, if you will, can you explain to us how containment happens? How do they actually measure once a fire is beginning to be contained and once it's fully contained?
We look hard at the areas that we have resources on. So containment for us, it's considered, the forward progress of that fire stops. It is contained to this area and will no longer go any further from that section. So as you see that percentage and our statistics rise, that means a certain area of that fire is contained, but there's always the head of the fire that continues to burn. So usually you'll see our containment numbers rise, and that's reflective on the heel of the fire, where the fire has started, where the fire has gone and is just kind of slowly burning that area. We can contain those areas. But when the head of the fire, like a wind event like this, there's not much, a lot we can do to slow that thing down or stop it. So the head of the fire will continue, and we will start working up the flanks and bring where the fire has originated in the beginning, and then bring that to a stop for sure.
I'm sure you got to go here. We've got a busy night ahead of us here, but I just got to ask if you have any final messages for anybody that may be watching this, family, friends of people that live in the region. What messages do you have for the folks of Southern California?
If you have family or friends in the area, please check on them, make sure they're safe, and if they're stubborn on getting out, please reinforce them to leave now and leave your home now where you can and get out and be safe and see your family in the end. And for any further information on the current incident burning in the Palisades or even evacuation center information, you can visit our website at fire.ca.gov for the latest incident information.
Jesse Torres is with CAL FIRE. Jesse, we appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
I don't think the hose is going to do anything at this point. It's really no match for the flames we have. I don't think we can walk down that way because the fire's laying down too much over the road now here, but it does look like there might be another structure down the road just behind this home that might be catching fire at this point too. So it looks like at least for sure this home on fire and maybe another one or two behind it. Again, Del Rey and Woodland in Pasadena. And this is maybe half a mile down the street from where we had crews evacuating over 100 people from a senior center, in the middle of the evening out here, pushing them down the street in hospital beds with little blankets on and trying to keep them as comfortable as possible. But it's so cold out here and there's so much smoke. And, they're just sitting in the middle of a 7-Eleven parking lot trying to figure out where to put them. And like Mike mentioned earlier, the city of Pasadena has been working all night long to do what they can to come together and help these people. They were loading those seniors onto Pasadena transit buses, in ambulances. They were, there's a big cloud of smoke coming at us. They even put them in a Pasadena SWAT vehicle at one point, and they were taking them to the Pasadena Convention Center, which sounds like where they have an evacuation shelter set up at this point. This is just one of the neighborhoods we're seeing a home burn down. We heard in Sierra Madre, they have more evacuations there. Altadena, it sounds like maybe closer to Eaton Canyon, they had a structure on fire there. So with the winds expected to pick up overnight, starting, at 10 o'clock and then moving into even 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, this thing is still raging like this. You can have embers from this home carry right across the street where these firefighters are and spark something else. So I think it looks like they're probably trying to stay to the south of this and protect these homes now a little bit south of this home that's on fire so they can prevent those embers from sparking something much larger. But I mean, look over this way, how black this is down the road. There's definitely something else burning down that way too. We're gonna come back just a little bit. Thank you. Yeah, you could hear someone's fire alarm going off on their building right now. You just hope that everybody got out of their houses over here a while ago when they were told to evacuate and they're not trying to hunker down inside still, because look even over to the right of us here. Look at all these little embers blowing in front of this house here. It doesn't look like they have a ton of dry vegetation on the ground. It looks like a lot of succulents and stuff that hopefully retain water and won't burn and help it catch onto the home here. But this is what it looks like in a lot of neighborhoods. So this has got to be really scary for homeowners watching this on TV, knowing that they live right nearby and one of their neighbors' homes here across the street from us is on fire tonight. It's just blowing me right over too. It's really gusty out here.
Yeah, just incredibly sad and dramatic pictures that you're showing us tonight, Nicole. It is unbelievable that you're standing in the middle of Pasadena and that is happening right now. We're not used to that. We're not used to seeing that in the suburbs or here in Southern California alone. When we talk about Santa Ana winds, Pat, I mean, that is, of course, something that we occur often here in Southern California. That's one of the most common weather patterns that we talk about here.
But we think about coastal areas, even from Malibu, unfortunately, to Orange County. But inland is a very different story. And that's with this particular fire. We are looking at flames. You and I have been watching this, Susie, as Nicole was talking. Those flames, the winds were blowing so hard, the flames were just blowing horizontally.
Okay.
And which you could tell, that's why those embers were blowing on the ground.
Sure.
And that also sets fires so close to the ground. You think sometimes what we're used to seeing brush fires, it goes from canyon to canyon, rooftop to rooftop, but this can present a lot of damage, as we are seeing even from where those flames are located. And unfortunately, this is a picture in Eaton Canyon, but we also have fires that are burning into Santa Monica. And when I heard the location in San Vicente, I mean, there are buildings over there as well.
Sure.
So that's something very, very different that we are seeing tonight. And again, this is a historic fire. The thing is, we still have our firefighters out there fighting this from the ground.
That's right. And we have flames raging all over, as we've been talking about. The speed of the fire, just unreal. It's almost like the 10 o'clock hour. We said it just as soon. It's like cue the winds once again, as meteorologists like Jenny Roberti has been telling us about.
And it looks like flames were just blowing over a building. And our Lori Perez is live on PCH in Malibu, where we have seen just some of the momentous events that have happened just behind you all evening long, Laura.
I've been doing this job for a while, and I cannot believe what I have seen tonight in Malibu. Mike. So intense, we didn't want to get through. And in fact, before I go back more into that story, let me show you what is happening right across the street. That is just engulfed. Woo! I think we are not in a good situation here. In the last couple of seconds, when I was waiting for you to toss to me, that just really started to flare up. You can see the tremendous amount of embers that
Lori,
are now
if you need
in
to go,
the air all around us.
If you need to go.
Mojo, what do you think?
Okay, we're going to let our
Let's
Lord
just move.
Perez get out of there. We have seen this
Yeah.
happen on a number of occasions throughout the night. Those flames getting dangerously close. It's already hard to breathe. You can imagine. We've watched our folks out there not being able to actually see, even with their goggles on. And a number of times, I don't want to say close calls and sounding dramatic, but we have seen some pretty pretty close encounters. So we're going to go back to another one of our team of reporters, Tom Wade. He's been on the fire lines all evening long. You're covering the Palisades fire as well, where buildings are burning right now.
So, Tom, where are you and what are we looking at?
Sure. I'm on Sunset Boulevard, not far from Temescal Canyon Road. And you can just take a look. This apartment building is fully engulfed. This is a building we showed you earlier in the evening. Firefighters were doing all they could to get a handle on it. It appears they've kind of just given up a bit on it. They do have a couple engines here on scene, but earlier they had ladders here. I would just, based on what I'm seeing here, maybe they're just letting this burn out based on the fact that the building just seems to be a complete loss. The fire just devouring this apartment building. And just down the street, there's just a ton of embers and debris falling now. This night is just, it's unbelievable what we're seeing. And now the wind is shifting and the heat from the fire, and it's so hard to breathe. It's so hard to see. I can't even describe it, guys. It's so intense. And you can probably see all those embers blowing out of the building, and they are blowing across the street into into the buildings, and you have to worry about the attics and the other buildings that could be affected by all of this debris and these embers that are blowing. We have these jackets on. You've probably seen a lot of us wearing these yellow jackets. They look like fire jackets. They are. The reason why we have them is so if when the embers do hit us, there's a chemical on these jackets that protects us, but that doesn't help when it hits the back of your neck. But it just, the scope of this is just so intense. We're also not far from where Palisades High School is, and that also was burning. We don't know the extent of it. We don't know how much was burned. And that's someone driving through, perhaps someone who decided to evacuate way later than they should have. We don't see a lot of civilian traffic right now. These are all closed roads. You can hear part of the building, pieces of the building collapsing there. But yeah, so we're not far from Palisades High School. Parts of that burned. We don't know the extent of the damage. This is also the same area where a number of people were trying to flee from their cars earlier today. And they had to abandon them. And then a bulldozer had to come through later and push them off to the side of the road. We also saw other fires. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, there's just more and more of this building coming down. You have to wonder if the structure itself is safe after the fire has burned here so long. Yeah, I think we're going to move. There's so much smoke blowing at us. I can barely breathe, and I don't want to get hit by any more embers. So I'm going to send it back to you, Pat.
Some safety, whether you're in the truck or further away from this particular building, because Susie and I are just watching it be demolished. This is falling apart before our very eyes, and it's so very sad to see, because even less than an hour ago, the building didn't look like that. But as Tom said, as he was standing there, the winds shift, and they've been shifting all night long, giving you a false sense of promise that, okay, might be in the clear.
Maybe we're okay.
But you can't do that.
No.
Can't let your guard down. And unfortunately, that's what some of those people did that ended up at Duke's Malibu with those injuries.
Absolutely. Meteorologist Danny Roberti is standing by with a look at conditions right now. And next to her is the Eaton fire burning, Danny.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about conditions at both of those fires, but also just what we're seeing all across Southern California. I know this is a very difficult night for so many families and communities here in Southern California. So we're going to show you what we're seeing right now and what happens next. We're in that window for the strongest winds. These are just numbers, but when you see our reporters out there, you can see how incredibly erratic, powerful, and strong these winds are. We're talking gusts nearing 60 miles per hour in many areas. We've seen gusts close to 90 miles per hour this evening, and they could very well strengthen going into tonight. 59 mile per hour winds through Burbank, Simi Valley, it has strengthened. 65 mile per hour winds there, 60 mile per hour winds through Malibu, and even through those areas that don't normally get in on the Santa Ana winds. That's what makes this really unusual and rare for us. Pasadena, Altadena, where we have the Eaton fire burning, we've got gusts between 50 to 60 miles per hour. It's blustery through the Inland Empire into Inland Orange County, but the big focus right now, it's going to be the San Fernando Valley, the San Gabriel Valley, the Santa Monica Mountains. So let me zoom you into a couple different areas. Here's a look at the conditions where the Eaton fire is currently burning. We are looking at gusts up to 60 miles per hour right now, sustained winds of 33 miles per hour. This is unusual in this area. And on top of that, it is very, very dry here. And now I want to zoom you in to where the Palisades fire is burning, close to 60 miles per hour right now. So the window for the strongest winds, it's right now all the way up to around 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So this is a big window for us where we're seeing these winds ramping up just a little bit as we get closer to dawn. But there's going to be a lot of these areas that don't normally get in on these really strong gusty winds. So this is a look at our wind futurecast. I want to take a step out of the way because I do want to zoom you in on some key areas. This is going to walk us through hour by hour when we see the strongest winds and when they finally move out of here. So here's a look at around midnight. So in just the next couple of hours, you can see some strong winds developing right there through Simi Valley. The 210 corridor is going to be a big concern. San Fernando, over towards Pasadena, Altadena getting in on the potential for some gusts between 50 to 70 miles per hour. You see that through La Cañada, Flint Ridge. We've got this over through the Inland Empire as well. So as I bring you over, Rancho Cucamonga close to this, up through the mountains, of course. Now, what we could see tonight are some breaking mountain waves. What happens with these, we could get gusts hitting the ridges of the San Gabriel Mountains, and then they kind of break through and drop into some of our foothill communities. So we could see pockets of 80 to 100 mile per hour gusts. That's what's going to make this difficult going into tonight. So here's a look at 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. Those purples are indicating the strongest winds. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we're going to actually see a little surge of winds right there through downtown Los Angeles into Inglewood, over towards Torrance into Santa Monica. We're continuing to see that through the Palisades. I'm going to zoom us back out, because once we get to tomorrow morning, we're going to see a little surge in those winds, even through inland Orange County areas like Rancho Santa Margarita into Silverado, and then also into the Inland Empire. We get to Wednesday, late morning into early afternoon. It's still blustery out there. Here's the good news. Winds start to die down in the afternoon. Now, we're not out of the woods in terms of fire danger. It's still going to be breezy out there, but we're expecting high wind warnings to expire. And then another little surge, not completely out of the woods, but another surge in winds Thursday afternoon going into Thursday evening. High wind warnings, they are with us until 6 o'clock Wednesday evening. So aside from the fire danger, these winds can do a lot more. Back in 2011 with the big winds that moved through Pasadena, 80 mile per hour gusts, we saw so many trees down. So that's a possibility with the winds this strong. Down trees, down power lines, possible power outages. So especially first thing tomorrow morning, if you're getting out there on the roads, getting off to work, please be extra careful. We may see some damage through the roadways, and already National Weather Service has had so many damage reports through the San Gabriel Valley and also the San Fernando Valley. This is unusual for us to see a high wind warning that blankets most of Southern California. I mean, we're no stranger to this. We get the Santa Ana winds, and yes, we do get high wind warnings, but we're not used to seeing widespread winds of this magnitude. So that's what makes this very odd for us. And then on top of that, we've been talking about the fire danger. I mean, we're seeing it out there right now. And what's so hard is that these embers that you're seeing on the side of your screen, I mean, they can fuel or they can fan out miles away to help start other fires, and they can move quickly, and it can be very unpredictable with these gusty winds. So we've got strong winds, low humidity, fire danger is
on Sunset Boulevard, not far from Temescal Canyon Road, and you can just take a look. This apartment building is fully engulfed. This is a building we showed you earlier in the evening. Firefighters were doing all they could to get a handle on it. It appears they've kind of just given up a bit on it. They do have a couple engines here on scene, but earlier they had ladders here. I would just, based on what I'm seeing here, maybe they're just letting this burn out based on the fact that the building just seems to be a complete loss. The fire just devouring this apartment building. And just down the street, there's just
a lot of smoke out there. We'll break that down for you to make sure you feel prepared going into tomorrow. Pat, Susie.
All right, Danny, thank you so much. And let's get back to Mike Rogers now on the desk.
And Mike, you've got a lot of new information for us, lots to get to.
Yeah, I do. And I want to start out with evacuation areas that we've been talking about here. And this is the one in the Palisades Fire, because every time we look at the map, really, it is expanding and getting further. The current concern that we've been listening to. And first of all, I want to point out, you can tell where firefighters are kind of more concerned based on what's voluntary and based on what's mandatory. And every time they add an evacuation area,
those embers blowing out of the building, and they are okay. They are blowing across the street into the buildings, and you have to worry about the attics and the other buildings that could be affected by all of this debris and these embers that are blowing. We have these jackets on. You've probably seen a lot of us wearing these yellow jackets. They look like fire jackets. They are. The reason why we have them is so if when the embers do hit us, there's a chemical on these jackets that protects us, but that doesn't help when it hits the back of your neck. But it just, the scope of this is just so intense. We're also not far from where Palisades High School is, and that also was burning. We don't know the extent of it. We don't know how much was burned. And that's someone driving through, perhaps someone who decided to evacuate way later than they should have. We don't see a lot of civilian traffic right now. These are all
live in Pasadena, once again, where homes are burning tonight. Nicole.
Yeah, Susie and Pat, this is just a really heartbreaking example of how blowing embers from a wildfire can absolutely destroy a neighborhood. We're on Del Rey at the corner of Woodland here in Pasadena. When we first got here about maybe 35-40 minutes ago, this home was completely destroyed. Now you can see across Woodland here, there's another home that has caught fire. That's black smoke billowing off the top of it. So we know that's a structure burning and that those are homes right here. This wind is kind of blowing in all directions. Right now you see these embers going to the south of us here, but it's also blowing to the west and the east. We also have this condo complex that caught fire because embers from the home behind us were blowing in the wind across the street here. And now there's at least two of these big buildings here that are on fire. It's just so heartbreaking. We're seeing firefighters do have hose line pulled out in these neighborhoods, but they can't really do anything because the wind is basically laying these flames down on top of homes and condos like a blowtorch, and hose isn't really going to do anything against that. So once it goes up, that's pretty much it. They're trying to focus all of their efforts on protecting the homes, I think a little bit farther away from the flames where they know that they actually can put in the work to protect them. And we are also seeing firefighters that, going through this condo complex here and just making sure that no one's still inside the properties here. You have to hope that everybody, heard about these evacuation orders and got out a long time ago, because at this point in the evening, the flames are only picking up in intensity, and it's really unpredictable what could catch fire here next. It really only takes like a little ember going in underneath the tile on a roof or going in through a little like air conditioning vent. And once it starts smoldering in an attic or in a little crawl space or anything like that, the whole roof is probably on fire before you start to see the flames here. So, gosh, you can see this black smoke. It almost looks like a tornado blowing through here with all of the black smoke and the embers swirling around here. Just to give you a little bit of perspective on how close we are to Eaton Canyon, we're not super close. We're actually about a mile away from Eaton Canyon, this 190-acre natural.
Have you ever entered a site that looked real but wasn't? Here's how to avoid getting tricked. Scammers use AI to easily
spotted a mile away from that area. And this is crazy because this is a residential area in Pasadena with lots of homes and condos packed in, lots of businesses. If you want to take a look at this video here for just a couple of minutes here, we saw all of these senior citizens, over 100 of them, a couple of hours ago, who had to be evacuated from two different facilities just up the street on Altadena Avenue near Washington. They were essentially pushed across the street in the middle of the night in their hospital beds, and they were kind of corralled in a parking lot, a 7-Eleven parking lot with the McDonald's right across the street. Main streets there, Altadena and Washington and Pasadena. And they had to wait there for maybe 45 minutes or an hour until the city and fire department, police, all of the workers at the senior center pulled all of their resources together, and they figured out how to get them out of there. They had to stick them on Pasadena transit buses. Some people left in their wheelchairs loaded onto a Pasadena SWAT vehicle, and they were taken to the Pasadena Convention Center. So that's the main evacuation shelter they're working with right now. If you're not familiar with the area so much, Pasadena and Altadena are like right back to back. So a fire of this magnitude starting in Altadena, people are evacuated there. Pasadena is going to jump in with all the resources they have as a bigger city to help out. And we've seen not only the city helping people, but other people coming out here to help their neighbors. We talked to one gentleman earlier who said he busted out the window on his friend's apartment complex to make sure that he could get her out. And he said she didn't know that the fire was burning right behind it at the time. So I'm sure they're probably, gosh, look at the flames coming off this condo right here. I'm sure there are other people that didn't know that the fire was this close to them until probably they heard the fire alarm next door and came outside and saw this. But it's just unbelievable. And, we know that this fire exploded because the vegetation's so dry right now, and we have these incredible winds. So we're just expecting to see more of this get worse overnight, you guys.
So much, Nicole. We're going to get a reset now at just after 10:30, actually 10:32 here on KCAL News at 10. We have fires burning in Pasadena. Flames from the Altadena fire that Nicole was just talking about have spread to the corner of Del Rey and Woodland Street, right down from the street from where crews evacuated dozens of people. You're looking at those pictures there. They are at a senior center, or they were evacuated from a senior center late tonight.
Also new at 10:30, the Palisades Fire has moved into Malibu tonight. Evacuation warnings for this fire now stretching into Calabasas, Malibu, Brentwood, and Santa Monica. More than 10,000 homes threatened at this hour.
And the extreme winds have been toppling trees. We have new pictures just in of a large down tree on Cahuenga Boulevard and Toluca Lake. That windstorm also knocking out power to thousands of people across SoCal. And we have much more new at 10:30. Mike Rogers on the desk. Mike.
Yeah, Pat and Susie, what's happening right now? There are 2 new fires burning. One in both of them in the San Fernando Valley, one in the Silmar area, one in the Sun Valley area. I want to start with the one in the Sun Valley area. Come to my computer in here and I'll show you that this started as a commercial fire off the side of the 5 freeway at Lancashire Boulevard. It then spread to View Medical Center. This was first reported to the CHP. I'm reading the CHP log here. First of all, they're going to close, looks like, portions of the 210. Let me just get back to this really quickly here. But yeah, Foothill Boulevard and Yarnell is where it came in. There was a report of a fire in this location. That's the camera you're looking at here. A large fire started above Olive View Medical is what a 911 caller reported to CHP. Another caller called in and said the fire is moving quickly and headed towards the freeway. Another caller called in and said that they thought they saw a power line explode on the side of the mountain, and now it's on fire. And another person, and actually a unit called in. They have visual of the fire. They say from the southbound 5 of the 14. That CHP unit reported to their dispatch center that the whole mountainside was on fire. Again, this is the 210 at Yarnell. This is a new fire. Another CHP unit reporting that there is heavy smoke across the 210 freeway at Yarnell. Another unit there reporting that the fire is coming up to houses on Yarnell at the 210. I don't remember what year it was, but there was a fire that burned in this exact same area. And if I remember correctly, started at the 210 at Yarnell. It was before COVID, burned up into the hillsides, jumped the 5, came into the Porter Ranch area, and then moved over to the west. And it may have been 2018, somewhere around there, 2018, 2019, after the Woolsey fire. But that is in now the exact same area. So now we're dealing with yet another fire. We're going to work to get some better images than this, but this is what I have right now for you is another Alert California Wildfire camera. Foothill and Yarnell Boulevard. CHP is on scene. Fire department is on scene as well. Another very not good situation for where this fire has started, guys.
Wow. All right, Tom. We've got so much to talk about tonight, and that was just new reporting from Mike Rogers. But, you know, we're going to go back to that the Palisades Malibu fire where we've been watching Tom Waite all night long, reporting from different different spots there, and they all seem to be just as bad.
Yeah, Tom, what is the situation now? Has it gotten worse?
Yeah, gosh, you guys, it's just bad. I mean, it's just sustained bad, awful. I don't even know. Those are the words right now. It's a really ugly situation. We're on Temescal Canyon right now, just between Sunset and PCH. And from where we're sitting, it looks like that's a home burning just in the distance there at the top of the hill. Obviously, we don't know for sure, but that's what it looks like from where I'm standing. But really, as we turn more, Greg, to the side of the road here to Temescal Canyon, I mean, that's where it's pretty clear there's at least one structure up there burning and possibly more. It's just fire everywhere, and it's the winds are just unrelenting. We were just live a few minutes ago on that apartment fire, and I had even with goggles I had so much soot in my eyes. I went back to the truck and flushed out, grabbed a water bottle just to get all that stuff out of my eyes. I can only imagine what firefighters are dealing with. They are just taking the brunt of all of this, and just walking directly into these dangerous situations and battling these fires. I really don't, in my 11 years here at KCBS KCAL, I cannot remember a situation like this where there's just no let up. It just keeps going. I mean, maybe a few minutes here and there, but these gusts are so strong and they don't stop. And this is why we are where we are. I mean, just down at the base of the hill here, there's a little just sort of hotspot, but it poses such a threat because, the embers that are blowing just blow up into another structure. And that's what the concern is. You can't get control of these situations when you have a windstorm like this. I mean, it's like, I've never been in a hurricane. I've been in tornadoes, covered those, and it feels a little bit like that. It's just crazy. And I'm just looking up and down Temescal, and I see hot spots and smoldering vegetation. I see what looks like at least 2 structures burning. And we'll obviously get the count in the coming days of how much has been destroyed, but it's really mind-boggling to just sort of drive around and see so many buildings burning and firefighters doing. Sorry, Greg, go ahead. Okay, we're coming back. Yeah, we're coming back to look on this side of Temescal and just kind of give, I believe this is like the south side view. And yeah, there's just fire everywhere, right? Everywhere you look along this hillside, all you see is burning vegetation. And then, Greg, let's just spin back over to that house over there. I think it's a house. I'm not certain what it is, but it appears to be a home there that's burning on the top of that hill. And it's fully involved and engulfed, and there's still fresh fuel burning in that house. Oh my gosh, wow, for like a second, it's not blowing at us like 1,000 miles per hour. It feels amazing. But it's just lasts for like 2 seconds and it's back. So, when you're trying to put a fire out and you're spraying water on these structures, you got to like be right on top of it, right? Because otherwise the water just blows every which way. So it disperses, especially with the air support. Obviously the wind creates its own challenges just for aircraft, but then when you try to drop water on top of something and the winds are blowing and these massive gusts, it just blows the water away. So it just presents this exasperating challenge for firefighters who I'm sure are looking at the forecasters and seeing what's being reported, and it must just be mind-numbing to think, how is this going to go on for days? How can we do this, right? I mean, and people who live here, the evacuees, people who are watching all this, wondering, how can we do this, right? I mean, the good news is, what's so incredible about Angelenos, and I've noticed this tonight, is the kindness and the desire to do what was right, which was evacuate when firefighters said to do so. People come together, and that is really one of the few silver linings here, right? Is I've just been so taken by talking to people who are scared, obviously, but they did what they needed to do. They got out when they needed to get out, and they're worried for their neighbors, their loved ones. I had one. My aunt was evacuated tonight from her home in Palisades. She's lived there since the 70s, and another friend said, "Hey, does she need a place to stay?" Which was so sweet. But I have lots of family here in town, so she does have a place. But that's the kind of thing you hear in these situations, in these emergencies. People reaching out, saying, "Look, I'm going to help. You're not alone." And I love that. That's the one thing you can really latch onto right now when you're standing in a storm of doom that's blowing fire and destruction in every which way around you. You have to hold on to those moments, right? To the people who are suffering, but at the same time trying to see the best and to see the brighter spots of humanity. So, not to get on my little soapbox, but I have to say, in such a dark night with so much terrible stuff going on, I think it is important to focus on some of the amazing humanity we've seen tonight.
Out there, Tom, and quite different than when you were in Malibu.
If you're 35 or older and still don't have life insurance, we're going to show you just how easy it is to apply for up to $1 million in coverage with no physical medical exam or face-to-face meeting required, even if you have some health conditions or you're a smoker. If you're hesitant about getting life insurance, remember this. We don't buy life insurance for ourselves. We buy it for those who depend on us, whether it's a wife, a husband, kids, an aging parent. We get life insurance to ensure the ones we love don't lose their quality of life if something unexpected were to happen to us. The truth is, there's no way to predict the future, but we can plan for it. So don't leave your loved ones unprotected. Click the button below this video, complete a short survey, and if you qualify, you'll receive a risk-free quote for coverage of up to $1 million. Remember, coverage will never be cheaper for you than it is today.
Was it really God's wish to kill Abraham's elder son? Why Isaac needed to be punished by God?
So, but hopefully even by tomorrow, we'll even have more help from people out of state, because if we need it, I mean, we have to have it. And that's one thing that we have seen. We come together and we help, you know, our American citizens.
Many different departments, absolutely, already coming together tonight, Pat, with the LA City and the LA County Fire Department. You were just talking about the fire a couple of weeks ago in Malibu, and tonight the residents there on edge once again because of this fire that has burned clear to Malibu now. And our Lori Perez is standing by in Malibu with a look at that now. Lori.
We have seen an unbelievable amount of damage in Malibu tonight. In fact, just a little while ago, I actually texted a friend of mine. He's a city leader here in Malibu. And I just said, you know, I'm sorry about what's happening here, because we had just driven down PCH, seeing how much was damaged. In fact, I want to get right to that video that I took just about an hour ago as I was coming down PCH from Duke's Restaurant in Malibu, which is at Las Flores Canyon. And it was house after house after house, building after building after building just burned. Those are the beachside homes. On the other side of PCH, lots of businesses also burned. People have been in the area familiar with, you know, the Real Inn, that is gone. The 7-Eleven right near there, that is gone. The Rosenthal wine patio, that is gone. That has been burned to the ground. I mean, it's just, I couldn't believe my eyes as we were driving down PCH. We couldn't get up to Duke's, where we understood that there were some people who had been hurt and burned, and they were walking down to Duke's. We could not get to Duke's because the fire was so intense on both sides of the road. It wasn't safe for us to continue going, so we turned around. And, you know, again, the extent of the damage in Malibu is really remarkable. We are here on PCH. If you want to come back to me live on we're at Puerto Marino and PCH. And behind us up in the hill there, you can see there is a fire that is burning a home there. There's at least 2 other houses up on the streets above. This is an advertising agency. You know, I looked on Google Maps and it says it's called The Many. It's an advertising agency. That building is okay. But behind it are street after street after street of houses. And just from where we're standing, we can see 1, 2, 3 at least that are burning. Actually, if I look to the left, I see 4 or 5. So these firefighters are just down here. They're going to try and protect this building should that fire come down. But that will just give you an idea of how much they're dealing with, because all up and down PCH, in neighborhood after neighborhood, there are houses burning. And in some of those cases, we did not see any engines or firefighters, because they really are having to choose where to focus their energies to save what they can save and what is beyond saving. That's how critical and how dynamic this situation is at this point. The wind continues to blow at a very strong clip. You know, just about 45 minutes ago when we tried to go live, a tree erupted in flames very quickly and put us in a lot of danger right at the moment. So we had to skedaddle out of there just for our own safety. But the situation continues to evolve and not in a good way. You know, Tom was talking about how perhaps tomorrow we'll begin to tally the damage. And I don't even want to begin to do that, because it is going to be so much that we have lost. You know, Malibu, frankly, Malibu is burning that tonight. It is burning, guys.
Yeah, we have friends. I'm going to call him by name. Former colleague David Goldstein. He's also a very, very good friend. I believe he and his wife did get out. I know they were prepared to go, and that's it. You know, after having gone through such devastation just a short time ago, a lot of people were paying attention and were able to get out, or they, you know, went when they were supposed to. However, Susie, we have seen talked about some incidents tonight, particularly those people at Duke's Malibu who thought that they could ride it out, I guess. And unfortunately, they were injured. Hopefully not seriously, but we do know one firefighter had to go to the hospital.
That's right. Meteorologist Danny Roberti is standing by once again. And Danny, you said the 10 o'clock hour, we would start the peak of the wind event.
Yeah.
We are in the thick of it right now.
Yeah, we are. We are, Susie and Pat. That's what we're seeing right now. Our strongest winds really focused right now until tomorrow morning. So we are in the heart of this event, and we are just continuing to see these relentless winds. It continues, and they are widespread. We've mainly seen gusts between 40 to 80 miles per hour. Actually, 50 to 80 miles per hour is what most areas are focused on. So you can see the strongest winds right now. We've got it through Burbank into Santa Clarita. Now, keep in mind, we're going to see these winds strengthening over the next couple hours until around dawn tomorrow morning. It's strong through the Inland Empire, but it's not as strong as what we're seeing through LA County, through Malibu, through the Santa Monica Mountains, areas where the Palisades Fire is burning right now. I want to zoom you in on that area. Look at those purples that you're seeing on your map. This is where we are seeing our strongest wind gusts right now. Burbank has gusts nearing 60 miles per hour. So the San Fernando Valley, big focus for this. And then you can see that through Malibu. These winds, yes, they are coming out of the northeast. They're pushing towards the southwest. But what happens within some of these fires, I know Tom and Lori have been talking about it, is that it almost feels like in Nicole, the winds are shifting when they're in the midst of it. Sometimes these fires, they create weather of their own within that fire. So that's something that we see as well. So let's take a look at our hourly wind gusts. This is going to give you a good idea of what we're going to see tonight going into early tomorrow morning. The focus is midnight to around 10 o'clock in the morning. Look at Santa Clarita, gusts between 50 to 60 miles per hour. I know this is cut off just a little bit, but you've got Los Angeles and Long Beach included in that. And then you're also seeing Lancaster, Ontario, and Glendale with gusts between 40 to 60 miles per hour tonight into tomorrow morning. So what we're watching for, strongest winds right now through 9 o'clock Wednesday morning. Something else that we could see going into tonight, and this is when we could see some of those stronger winds, it's these mountain waves, which we do not normally see. This is very rare for us. The last time we saw something like this, it was back in 2011 in Pasadena when we saw 1,200 trees that were downed with 80 mile per hour winds. What happens, we've got these 100 mile per hour gusts. They hit the ridges of the San Gabriel Mountains, and sometimes they break it down, and we see these pockets of these really strong winds, and that's what creates some of this damage. So two big things we're focused on. It's the fire danger, but it's also the damage with these strong gusty winds. So this is important. I've been keeping a very close eye on our future cast because this walks us through the timing of the winds when we see the strongest winds. So midnight, you can see it is still widespread. We are not getting a break tonight, and that's what we're hoping for as a break. Now, once we go into early tomorrow morning, this is around 3 o'clock in the morning. Those purples, that's what I have my eyes on, and you can see those stronger winds. The 210 corridor, that's been a big concern since last night, really stretching from San Fernando. You see that over in La Crescenta, Pasadena, Altadena, seeing gusts between 40 to 50 miles per hour. And then you can see over towards Monrovia, Glendora, right there towards Rancho Cucamonga into San Bernardino. And then I also don't want to leave out inland Orange County. Look at what happens once we get to the morning time. You're seeing some purples in there as well. Foothill Ranch into Rancho Santa Margarita, right there towards Silverado. We've got some strong gusty winds developing, and by tomorrow morning we are expecting that PDS, that particularly dangerous situation red flag warning for areas of Orange County into the Inland Empire. So 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we get out there on the roads. It's still a blustery day for us. I know you're thinking at home, when are we going to be done with these winds? It's still breezy late morning, and we've even got some of those winds picking up a little bit more through the LA basin into Orange County. And then once we get to Wednesday evening, this is when those winds are not going to be as widespread. It's still going to be gusty going into Wednesday night, but we're not going to see the magnitude or how widespread it is right now going into tomorrow morning. And then another little peak in winds. This is 3 o'clock Thursday afternoon. And then once we get to Friday, we're finally going to see these winds dying down. As for tomorrow, the fire danger is still with us, and that is going to be critical for these areas shaded in pink and that kind of light red that you see. Let me zoom you in right now. Santa Clarita into Pasadena, but really everyone is dealing with this to some extent. And then also inland Orange County, Rancho Santa Margarita, over towards the Inland Empire, Corona into Rancho Cucamonga. And on top of that, I mean, Pat and Susie have been talking about all the smoke in the air, and you can see how tough it is for a lot of our reporters to breathe out there. We now have air quality alerts in place because of this wildfire smoke that really makes it tough to breathe out there. And that's what's increasing the air pollution. And so the focus is going to be LA County, Orange County, the Santa Monica Mountains, the San Gabriel Valley. That's what we're focused on. So girls, we're going to continue to keep a close eye on this. It's all about the winds. That's what we're focused on right now, and going into tonight, no break. But by tomorrow night at this time, things are going to be looking a little bit better out there.
All right, Danny, thank you so much. And talking about no break, we're going to get to Mike Rogers at the desk with another fire.
That's right, Mike. We've got a crew of at least one of the new fires in the San Fernando Valley now.
Yeah, this is the one that's burning off Foothill and Yarnell, north of the 210 freeway. Our John Schreiber is there on the ground. I want to get straight to his picture because he is in the backyard of a home with firefighters. This is off Foothill Boulevard and Yarnell Road. This is the almost identical place where the Saddle Ridge fire burned in 2019. Look at this. You see from John's picture, the fence of this backyard is already gone. There is already an immediate structure threat. There is already evacuations for this fire. This fire is not even like 30 minutes old at this point, and this is already the situation that we're looking at. Look at John pans around to the hillside. So if you're familiar with that area, they got the 210 freeway, which, by the way, is closed because of the fire, because of smoke that was shooting off of the freeway. Or over the freeway there, and you have Olive View Medical Center. If you know where Olive View Medical Center is, in the Silmar area to the north side of the 210 freeway, this is burning above that. John is in a home off of, I think, Circle Diamond Road that is north of the 210. He's off a home that's off of Yarnell. Thank you, John. Off of the northbound or north side of the 215 freeway. There are evacuations according to City Fire. The north of the 210 freeway from Roxford to the 514 split. So all of that area, it's very mountainous up there, but there are homes off Yarnell where John is, Circle Diamond Road, Saddle Ridge Road, Wagon Mound Road, Bridle Ridge Road. All of those areas are currently under an evacuation, including to the west, Nicholas Drive, Silver Oaks Drive, Balboa Boulevard, north of the 210 and the 5 there. This is a new fire being dubbed the Silmar fire by LA City Fire, are currently working on that. And again, right now, this is 50 acres was the last mapping they had of it. Of course, that is very quick and very new. And let me see what time the call time on this was. Interesting note here. I also see that one person, it looks like, has already gone to the hospital. One of the ambulances had to take somebody to the hospital on that situation. So, and correction, they're calling this the Hearst fire. And just as I speak, they have now updated the acreage to at least 100 acres. The Hearst fire burning off the 210 freeway, excuse me, near Yarnell is now at least 100 acres. That's according to the CAL FIRE mapping system that is currently doing this. And you can see it is already chewed. Now, a lot of this has come from the information, initial information came from CHP. I was going through their log. They had multiple 911 callers call this in. One person potentially reported seeing a power line catch fire. It's unclear if that's what started it or if it was already, the fire had already started and caught this power pole on fire, but people reported immediately seeing the hillside lit up in flames just moments after it was reported. The fire first came into CHP at 10:15 p.m. That's when the first person called it in. We also know that the 210 is now closed. There's a SIG alert for the 210, at least the westbound lanes of the 210, and that was because of the smoke that was drifting across the lanes. Look at that in John's shot. You see the embers coming right into his camera, and forgive us for the camera freezing there for a couple of seconds, but you can see all of those embers that are shooting across. And again, it is just yet another situation. This area, not a stranger to fire. This is where the Saddle Ridge fire started in 2019 before it burned up north, and then went west, jumped the 5, came in down into Porter Ranch area. So here we go again. Now we are talking about 3 potentially major fires, the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire, and now what are we calling this one again? The Hearst fire, which has burned 100 acres in the Silmar area north of the 210 freeway, you guys.
Thank you so much, Mike. And now let's talk about power outages. Well, they are everywhere. Edison estimating tonight that 75,000 customers are in the dark right now as we speak.
And the LAPD, or I should say the LADWP, has power outages as well. KCAL News reporter Leslie Marin is in Valley Village tonight with more. I see that it's still dark out there, Leslie.
Yeah, Pat and Susie, this is what many communities are dealing with. We have those communities that are dealing with those devastating fires, and then others that are just completely in the dark for hours. This is Moore Park here. We're right at Valley Village and Studio City, where the two neighborhoods meet here, and you can see it's just completely dark. This gas station, if you use it here in Studio City, you know it has been out pretty much all day. Then you take a look down that street, you can see all the street lights out, all those homes you can't even make out because their power has been out. Many frustrated people, but I will tell you, there are so many crews out here doing what they can to get this power back on. You could see this intersection here at Laurel Canyon and Moore Park. This has been out for quite some time as well. You have parking enforcement here trying to just get traffic going. I want to get to some video because we have encountered several downed trees, power outs just throughout the valley here. Take a look at this. We were driving down the 101 at Laurel Canyon earlier tonight, and that's where a tree fell onto the freeway lanes, just barely missing the car there. And a driver, you could see outside of his vehicle, CHP and a tow truck were called in to help clean up and fully open the freeway up again. And then you have video of this intersection, Laurel Canyon and Moore Park, where it has been out pretty much all day. In this area, LADWP tells us Studio City, Valley Village, some of the hardest hit neighborhoods that they're currently dealing with, up to 2,000 customers without power. And while they say it can be frustrating for so many people, they have crews just throughout the Southland trying to get power back on. But there is a process. Many times they need to get tree trimming crews out here. They have to cut down trees that are laying over power lines in order to then get the work done. So many people have asked us, hey, do you know how long it'll take for power to come on? Well, they say anywhere from 4 to 12 hours. I know it can seem like a long time, but crews are doing what they can. They have many crews out over sorry, someone was yelling at us, but they have many crews out at the Palisades area. So they're doing what they can to get power back on. For now, reporting live from Studio City, Leslie Marin, KCAL News.
Okay, well, we've known that there could be power outages. We heard we were on standby yesterday for a number of power outages that were going to happen that we were hoping would sort of help in preventing some of what we're looking at tonight. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But still, it's probably going to be even more time. As you mentioned, Leslie, we just have to pack our patience. Yeah. Those of us who are suffering from power outages, I guess we should be thankful. All right. Thanks so much for that, Leslie.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're going to be getting KCAL News at 11 in just a moment here, but we still have Leslie's picture up. And Leslie, as we had mentioned, it will take some time for power to be restored. Yeah. And this is an area in Valley Village that has not been affected by fire. We haven't had any reports of fire.
No, it has not been affected. Yeah, no, they have not been affected by the fire. Of course, you can smell the smoke in the air like many of us here in the Southland. But I will tell you another thing, Pat, something that LADWP crews told me was a problem. All the trees hanging over these power lines. They want people to take care of those before situations like this happen. For now, I'll send it back to you.
Devastating pictures now on KCAL News. Breaking news. The Palisades Fire spreads into Malibu, and we have new video showing the destruction. It is horrific, and the fire threat is not even close to being over as we are entering the most dangerous part of this storm.
And a second fire exploding late tonight, burning in the hills above Altadena. The fire raging out of control, now burning homes in Pasadena.
And we are tracking a third fire, prompting new evacuations in the San Fernando Valley. The fires fueled by wind gusts that aren't even at max speed right now. They're just now starting to get worse, and it is leaving thousands of people in the dark. At this hour, at least 75,000 Edison customers do not have power, and thousands of DWP customers are in the dark as well. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Pat Harvey.
Hi, everyone. I'm Susie Sa.
Well, let's get straight to Mike Rogers at the desk. Mike has some more information for us. And Mike?
Hi, sorry about that. Just working the phones over here at the desk. Yeah. So the latest fire we're talking about, the Hearst fire. That is the one that is burning up in the Silmar area. I want to come to my computer here really quickly because I want to show you, if we can, the map here where this is burning. This is off the 210 freeway, right off of Yarnell and Foothill is where it started. So this is the Hearst fire. This is where it's burning, and it is expanding into the hills above it. So the city fire has just issued evacuation warnings for everybody north of the 210 over to Roxford. So Roxford in here, let me draw it on the map for you. Roxford is right here. So this is the 210 freeway, obviously. Roxford comes up right here. So the evacuation is from there and then all the way over here to the 514 split. So really there's a couple of neighborhoods up in here, Sycamore, Sombrero, Walnut, and over here into Filbert Street. I'm going to ask Mike Parrott in the booth if we can go to John's pictures on RS1. He has been with those firefighters and he has been looking at those kind of fire crews getting on scene quickly here. And this is yet another fire. This is in that same location where it burned back in 2019, where they were trying to deal with this. It burned north of the 210 over to the 5. And we'll see if we can get to John's pictures there. I think Mike's got it right there for me. Thank you, Mike. And you can see the flames that are burning up on the hill. If you're familiar with this area, this is above Olive View Medical Center, just off the 210 freeway. And same situation that we've been seeing all night, you guys. All of this heavy smoke that is just making visibility nearly impossible for the fire crews, for the people that live there, for all of that. So this is a situation where John was just in a backyard a minute ago with some fire crews that were trying to put a fence out on fire. You see somebody else running around right there. This is a dangerous situation. It has already burned 100 acres. That's according to the CAL FIRE mapping system. And again, this is called the Hearst fire. Evacuations north of the 210 between Roxford and the 514 split. We're going to continue to monitor this fire, you guys, but this is just the latest of what we're dealing with here in Southern California tonight.
All right, thanks so much for that, Mike. I know we're going to go back and talk about the Palisades fire in just a moment. Before we do that, I just want to add that we have a call that the Palisades Village, that beautiful shopping center, has suffered damage. In fact, there is a store in particular there that is engulfed by flames. That's at 15225 Palisades Village Lane. Okay, and we've been talking about fire, Susie, burning also in the Altadena area in the Eaton Canyon fire. That's what we're calling it.
That's right. And our Nicole Comstock is live in front of a home burning in Pasadena right now. Nicole?
Yeah, it's absolutely unbelievable. You guys can see the wind still continuing to intensify out here. And this is one of a handful of homes in this neighborhood off Del Rey at the cross street of Woodland in Pasadena that has been destroyed by this fire. The home just to the right of it is also now on fire, at least the roof of it is. And there are others across the street that have already gone down. There's a condo complex across the street we'll show you in a couple of minutes here, or we can show you right now that that thing's on fire too right now. At least 2 of the buildings over there are fully engulfed in flames. And all of this, keep in mind, we're a mile away from Eaton Canyon, that 190-acre natural preserve area where this fire started. So all of this is spot fires. That's all the embers being cast in these extremely powerful winds a mile away and then catching maybe just one little ember getting into an eave under the roof of a house. That's all it takes to light one of these things up. Firefighters are out here doing what they can to save some of the homes that are being so aggressively and immediately threatened by this fire. This home right here, I just saw firefighters actually go inside. Looks like they maybe like kicked open or just opened a back door to maybe try to vent it out. And these people have fire all in their backyard and in trees in the backyard right now. And firefighters are back here with a hose line pulled out, trying to put out the vegetation so it doesn't spread to this home. So hopefully they will be able to keep this home intact here. It's just such a heartbreaking scene because just a couple of minutes ago, there was a gentleman standing right here, actually, like in this front yard. And he's looking directly across the street here and he's sobbing on the phone and telling someone, that's our house is gone, it's gone. And how do you console someone in a moment like that when they come out to their neighborhood and the place they've lived in for how many ever years is totally destroyed? And you wouldn't necessarily think being a mile away from, you know, an area with hiking trails and hills and steep terrain that you would have to worry about a fire like this, because you have a lot of like concrete around you. So you would think you would have a natural fire break. But we've been hearing for at least the past day now how catastrophic these winds could be, and how we hadn't really seen a windstorm like this in the San Gabriel Valley in about 15 years. So the force of these winds alone is enough to just carry any little fire that starts into neighborhoods. And this is a really sad example of how those embers blowing in Santa Ana winds can really just destroy a neighborhood. Now, thankfully, there are lots of homes down here that are looking good. We have fire crews posted up here, and hopefully this home will be okay here too. Again, this is on Del Rey on the southwest side of the street, about 2 houses down from the corner of Woodland. So it looks like they have a good handle on the backyard here. They are trying to do everything they can to protect the homes that they think might be at risk of going up next. But you got these wind gusts and a 400-acre, if not larger, fire burning just a mile away. You're still dealing with these embers flying all over the place, you guys. Tons of evacuations out here tonight. The last I heard from the Angeles National Forest, I think they said they were even evacuating people in Sierra Madre, south of Sierra Madre to the 210, and all the way from Lake to Santa Anita. So that's absolutely crazy. Like, this fire is moving to the east, and if it's getting towards Sierra Madre, that's really scary, because you got a lot of people way up in the hills there that have cute little cabins really tightly packed in, and that could be scary for them trying to get down these really narrow mountain roads if they have fire like this blowing at them.
And you know what? You said it, Nicole, about the only thing you can say to people who are so devastated by knowing that their home has burned down, even not knowing, is if they are able to look in the face of a loved one and have both of them there together, you know, saying,
Say,
okay,
we're here.
but we're, yes. I mean, I know that is, you know, that could be not enough comfort, obviously, and losing a home and your belongings, but if that has some little bit of solace, then hopefully that's something we can hold on to. Look at that. Is that a tree?
Looks like a tree stump.
Right?
Yeah,
And-
this is just a tree stump in front of someone's house. These are all these little embers that are catching like a lot of, you know, tree stumps and bushes in people's front lawns.
And
So
in people's homes.
This is how it kind of carries down the street in the wind.
And
yeah,
you know
and
what?
the homes too.
Yeah,
The
I've
worst
heard-
part of all.
I've heard firefighters say that those embers, obviously they can get into the eaves, start a fire, say in the attic. So a lot of times,
yeah,
these fires can start actually inside a home.
Sure. And you can see how many embers are flying around out there, as Nicole was showing us. I mean, even when she was just talking to us, you can see them flying around her head. And for firefighters running around like that, desperate to save some of these homes, I mean, it's got to be very comforting for the residents of this area and this neighborhood to know that firefighters are actually on their street despite what's happening right now.
No question about that. All right. Thanks so much, Nicole. We'll get back to you shortly.
Well, as we've been talking about many fires burning here in Southern California tonight, we went to Pacific Palisades, now to Pasadena, and we also want to hit Pacific Palisades once again because of the fact that this morning when that fire started, it was so small, Pat.
1030, 10 acres.
Yep, 10 acres.
And look where it is now. It's so unreal. And our Lori Perez is in the thick of it all at the Palisades Fire. And we understand what we've been reporting, Lori, well, you have, that it has spread into Malibu. I almost want to say back into Malibu because that's where we were a month ago.
That's exactly right. I mean, we visited spots tonight that we had been a month ago covering the fires, and now there are fires. Once again, a stunning amount of damage here in Malibu. I saw it with my own eyes, and still it is hard to believe. Let's get right to some video that I sent in just over an hour ago. It's a really remarkable video showing you as we were driving south on PCH from about Las Flores Canyon, that's up near where Duke's restaurant is, and it was just house after house of those beachside homes burning building after burning as crews valiantly tried to stand there and protect what they could to keep it from spreading. But I have to say there was more that was gone already than remained, which is really such a tragic thing to realize and to understand. You know, I reached out to a friend of mine who's in city leadership here in Malibu and just saying, I'm sorry because of what I'm seeing. It's just so heartbreaking. There are crews all over Malibu and Pacific Palisades, a remarkable number of crews, but not nearly enough for what is going on. There is so much wind. There are so many fires. Back here where we are on PCH and Puerto Marina, this neighborhood behind us is just one of so many here in Malibu that has multiple homes burning. And there are fire crews positioned just below this neighborhood at this point, trying to protect the building down here on PCH. But, you know, they can't even go up into those neighborhoods anymore. I mean, they just have so much on their plate, so much to handle that they're having to make very difficult and delicate decisions about where they place their resources and what to save, what they can save at this point. You know, you said it was unreal, and that is absolutely the word for it. I've been covering a lot of fires in my time, and this one is just shocking to me, the extent of the damage and how quickly it escalated. When we first got here at about 4:30, we were looking at you know, these coastal homes, these coastal neighborhoods, and we could see a house here, a house there that was burning and certainly threatening the other houses around them. And then within a matter of hours, an hour, 2 hours, 3/4 of the neighborhoods were gone. I mean, it's just really difficult to get your head around, because these are areas that we have covered and been up and down so often, and to now see just empty spaces where those buildings and houses were is really something. You know, for people who are familiar with Malibu, the Rosenthal wine patio, that's gone. The Real Inn, that's gone. The you know, the Oasis Center, which is a place that sells like outdoor furniture and plants and statues and such. It's really an iconic place here on PCH, gone. The 7-Eleven there is gone. I mean, it's just, you just look around and you can't imagine, you can't believe it. It's really, really something. And I give it to these firefighters because, you know, they've been out here and doing such difficult, such dangerous work and such heroic work. And we are a long way from over, and they have a very, very long fight ahead of them, and so many fights. That's what's so stunning about this, is just they have so much to fight tonight, guys.
They do, Lori. And, you know, you talk about businesses and homes that are gone. We're really going to get the true gist of just what that area is going to look like in the break of day.
I mean, this is just a snapshot. What we're showing our viewers tonight, what Lori is showing us, what our Tom Waite was showing us, what our Nicole Comstock was showing us in these neighborhoods, just a snapshot of what we're going to be seeing tomorrow at daybreak.
You know, what's been pretty pleasant right now, Lori, is we haven't seen you scrambling to get out of the way in this particular live shot. You have moved several times this evening because you've had to for your own safety.
That's absolutely right. You know, we were trying to get further up on PCH, you know, and we're seasoned journalists here, so we know how to push the boundaries a little, you know, within a safe discretion. And at one point we just said, no, absolutely not. We got to turn around because it was just way too intense. The flames were all around us on either side. They came right up to our windows of our news van, and it was just, it was terrifying. So we had to get out of there. And, you know, and several times we have been in situations where there have been just so many embers coming around us, you know, and it only takes one really to start a fire. You know, it could catch in our hair, our clothes, you know, it could catch the fan on fire. So we really have to be ready to go at a moment's notice as we are trying to bring the news to people. But yeah, we moved to a safer location where there's not quite so many embers around, and we're a little bit staying away from the fires. The other challenge, though, to be frank, has been getting a Wi-Fi signal. You know, we don't know if towers have been affected or how the Wi-Fi system has been affected, but we're having some challenge really finding areas where we can get even a signal and get up and come live to you guys.
Well, that's what we've been talking about here as well, and trying to remind people to power their phones when they can use them and when they still have power. And yeah, we do know that there have been a lot of problems with Wi-Fi all over the Southern California area. So certainly know what you mean there. And, I think it's safe to say, Lori, from where you are, when people are watching and saying, when can we possibly get back in their homes? Not tonight, right? No way.
No, not tonight. And I would guess probably not tomorrow either. I mean, there's the extent of the damage is unbelievable. And, Tom Waite earlier was talking about tallying the damage. And, that's, to me, that's such a, it's such a heartbreaking task that they're going to have to undertake when you start to think about how much has been lost. I mean, it's just, I can't even put into words. I'm really stunned at this point, and again, I've been doing this a long time, but this fire is just so intense, and people should not expect that they are going to be able to get back into their homes anytime soon. I mean, there's not power, it's just not safe at this point.
Lori Perez, thank you so much for those live reports. And we were just looking at that video that Lori was showing us along PCH, all those homes and buildings that are burning right now. Just incredible video that she got there with her photographer.
And what's so sad and tragic about this as well is even if you don't live in that.
Text, Milagro. Equal housing opportunity. A swimming pool and hot tub surrounded by a concrete deck. Text, luxury apartments for lease located in Salt Lake City, Utah. Enjoy our inviting amenities for your convenience. Pictures of a weight room and pool table. Text, studio, 1 and 2 bedroom floor plans with in-home washer and dryers, including high-speed internet and spacious closets. Pet-friendly environment. Ready to move in? Find your home today. Milagro. MilagroApartments.com. Equal housing opportunity.
Kia has 10 hybrid, electric, and plug-in hybrid utility vehicles to choose from. So whether you're looking for a fuel-efficient hybrid, an all-electric vehicle, or a plug-in hybrid that uses electric for every day and fuel for far away, the question isn't which vehicle to get, it's which Kia to get.
Hello. Welcome back.
10 electrified utility vehicles to choose from. Kia. Movement that inspires.
At times, the fires do lay down for sometimes. The flames do come lay down, but then they pick back up. I'm going to take my mask off for a second. We finally got a little bit of respite. But yeah, I mean, you get a sense of just how devastating this fire is when you're standing here and watching a space that you know so well in flames. But Greg, let's spin over here to our right, and it looks like there's at least one structure up there on fire. I don't know if it's it's part of a house or like a pool house or an outbuilding, but there's so much of this, so much damage, so many homes that are engulfed on these hillsides, or structures, I should say. We don't. It's hard to make out what we're looking at because obviously it's burning and it's dark, but nonetheless, there's so much potential damage. I'm curious, Craig, I hate to make you swing all the way back around here, but to our left, let's come back to our left and the other side of Temescal. I'm just trying to figure out what that is up here. Do you see what I'm looking at? So we're going to try to figure out what this is. If that is a home, is that a home up there? It is a home, and it does look like it's on fire. It's not fully engulfed, but it looks like there is fire burning now, in that house. And I just feel terrible for whoever potentially could be watching this and wondering about their home. Our hearts break for you if they do. And so many of us have been through these evacuations ourselves. And I said earlier in the newscast, my aunt was evacuated. She's lived in the Palisades for decades. And so many of us are connected to people who are going through these evacuations and who are going through these tough times. And there's just so much smoke and so much fire still burning. And the intensity of the wind, we've been saying it, but I can't describe enough to people. I mean, I've been standing in this now for, I don't know, 6-8 hours, and it's unrelenting. It just doesn't stop. And it just makes this job so impossible for firefighters. And they try to save as many houses as they can, but you look at a home like that up there, you know, how could the outcome be anything other than what it appears it's going to be, right? I mean, it's on fire. And I don't know that there's enough firefighters at this point to stop every one of these homes that are catching fire. A lot of black smoke coming from the areas next to it. I can't really see what's there. It's not clear if it's another structure, but you know, this wind is carrying these embers from house to house, and we just look up and down these roads and wonder, like, how long will this go? How long? And we know that the winds are just picking up, right? So it just seems like it's going to be a long and hard fight and a long and hard recovery. Pat, Susie.
Right, no true words were spoken. And what's not helping these firefighters, of course, is the weather, is the wind, because we don't have the resources that we could use. We do have choppers with night sun that are able to fly at night, but certainly not in this situation. And we're just hoping, Susie, to get some word that these winds will die down at some point, and they are able to get more air power to help them fight this fire.
That would certainly help. Meteorologist Danny Roberti is standing by with a look at how this is all just really getting underway now, Danny.
Yeah, it is. So really the focus, and we've been talking about it, focus for these really strong winds. It's really right now until tomorrow morning. So for the next 12 hours at least, this is going to be a critical time period. And the winds, they have not stopped. I mean, these are just numbers that you're seeing on your screen. When you see Tom and Lori and Nicole out there, and you can see the force behind these winds. I know a lot of you at home probably seeing it in your own backyard. I mean, it's so tough to see. And it's not just the fire danger that we're talking about, but these winds, they cause a lot of damage. And what makes this so unusual is that it is so broad and widespread. And these winds are powerful in a lot of areas. That includes areas that don't get in on these Santa Ana winds, like the San Gabriel Valley. So let's focus on what's happening right now and what happens next. And we're going to talk about when these winds move out of here. That's going to be the big focus. Now, as you can see, we've got really strong winds pushing through Simi Valley, Santa Clarita. These winds are coming out of the northeast, and that's what's drying things out. Gusts between 55 and 65 miles per hour through the Santa Clarita, right there near Silmar, where that fire is burning. 52-mile-per-hour gusts in Burbank. Now, Burbank, not as strong as it was a couple hours ago. Pasadena gusts up to 47 miles per hour. It's blustery through the Inland Empire, over through the Santa Ana Mountains, into inland Orange County, even pushing towards some of our beaches. Let me zoom you in right here, San Fernando Valley, which is where we're seeing some incredibly strong winds, those purples, over towards Ventura County. And this is making its way out towards Malibu, where we have gusts between 55 and 60 miles per hour. Now, I want to focus on a couple different things. First, through Altadena, where we're seeing the Eaton fire right now. This is where we're seeing gusts up to 52 miles per hour. This has been the case for the last 3 or 4 hours. So we haven't really gotten a break. It's very dry out there. And then I also want to bring you to Silmar, where the winds are even stronger right there near that 210 corridor, gusts rounding about 61 miles per hour right now. So the big question that I know a lot of you at home are asking is, when are we going to get some relief from these winds? So tonight, that's not going to be the case, but I do have my eye on a window when these winds start to die down. So let's take you through a future cast hour by hour. I want to walk you through. So this is a look at late tonight. The focus for the strongest winds, again, right now till around 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, those purples, that's what I've got my eye on in terms of the strongest winds. 3:15, you can see all of Ventura County is dealing with these strong winds through Silmar. We've got that through Simi Valley. A big concern since last night, it's been through Silmar all the way over towards Claremont. So San Fernando, 210 corridor right there. There's that purple. Glendale into Pasadena, Monrovia. I'm focused on some of our foothill communities that are going to be seeing gusts between 50 to 60 plus miles per hour. This is a look at 3:15. Etowanda included in this. Fontana, over towards San Bernardino and Highland. I'll zoom you out and you can see even into inland Orange County at this point. Foothill Ranch pushing towards Silverado is where we could see gusts between 50 to 60 miles per hour. This is unusual for us. I'll zoom you out. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, we start the new day and it's still blustery out there. So we're still dealing with the gusty winds. No break quite yet. That's going to be the focus for the strongest winds. Now, let me bring you to late Wednesday morning. It's windy through Orange County, the Inland Empire, our foothill communities, again, the San Gabriel Valley. So we're going to continue to see gusty winds. Finally, though, we get to late afternoon, early in the evening, and the winds are not going to be as widespread. That's what we're waiting for. We're not going to be completely out of the woods. Wind advisories will still be in effect, but we'll see those high wind warnings expiring. And then by Thursday afternoon, a little pop-up in the winds. And this is going to be more focused on those areas that are prone to the Santa Ana winds. It's not going to be as widespread or as broad as what we're seeing right now. And then finally, Friday rolls around, and this is when we're finally going to see that fire danger subsiding out there. So the thing is, high wind warnings, they're going to be with us until 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. This is unusual for us. I mean, typically with Santa Ana winds, yeah, we get high wind warnings, but we normally don't see a blanket of these warnings. And you can see most folks in Southern California encompassed in this, gusts between 60 to 80 miles per hour. And we could still see isolated gusts of 100 miles per hour tonight into early tomorrow morning. Aside from the fire danger, it's also going to be some of the damage that we're seeing with these winds, down trees, down power lines, possible power outages out there. We've already seen that today. So I want you to be extra careful waking up tomorrow morning, getting out there on the roads as we see the aftermath of these winds as they are strengthening tonight into early tomorrow morning. And we will hold on to those red flag warnings through at least Thursday. And you know the drill. We have strong winds and really low humidity. It is so dry out there. And the thing is, we have not seen much rain. As of tomorrow, it is going to be our driest start to winter in downtown Los Angeles since 1962. So that made this event even more concerning in terms of the fire danger, is because the vegetation, it is so dry out there. And especially right now, as we're seeing those embers flying, the winds bring them out and that vegetation is able to catch fire very, very easily. On top of all this, through tonight, because of these fires, we've got these air quality alerts. They are in place, and that's because of this wildfire smoke that is increasing our air pollution. This is going to stick with us until 5 o'clock Wednesday evening. Let's talk about what's happening out there in the atmosphere, because this is a little bit different for us. It is the perfect setup for these Santa Ana winds, but we have these two really strong systems, and we are caught right in the middle of them. So with high pressure, we have this clockwise flow. With low pressure, counterclockwise, and it creates this funnel for us for these northerly to northeasterly winds. And that's why we are seeing this system, this storm, this windstorm to this magnitude. I mean, this is rare for us. We've been talking about it, but we haven't seen this since 2011 when Pasadena saw that windstorm. So going into tomorrow, the first half of the day, it is going to be blustery. It's going to be cold in the morning, upper 50s, 65 by 11 o'clock. And then in the valleys, winds are going to start to let up just a little bit. And that's what we're hoping for, any little bit of relief. It's still going to be windy out there, but not to the extent that we're seeing tonight. Temperatures tomorrow mostly in the 70s and 60s. Taking a look at the next 7 days, you can see we're windy tomorrow through Los Angeles and Orange counties. By Thursday, Friday, winds will start to die down. And thankfully, we are quiet going into this weekend. Valleys, our window, it's really going to be Wednesday and Thursday. High wind warnings, red flag warnings. Friday, a fire weather watch is still in effect, but this weekend, we finally get relief. No rain in sight, though. That's what we're hoping for. We're staying dry, though. In the Inland Empire, I also want to mention tomorrow, patchy blowing dust. That's going to make things very difficult on the roads. We'll be in the mid-60s this upcoming weekend. 60s are on tap for us for Saturday and Sunday. Everyone is quieting down, but for the deserts, the mountains, and the beaches, we're staying windy Wednesday and Thursday. And then finally this weekend, we're going to see calm conditions. And I know Susie and Pat, what we're hoping for is for the winds to die down. And thankfully, tomorrow we have that little window by the end of the day. Still tough out there, but it's going to look a little bit better than what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, we are certainly waiting for these winds to die down.
Yes.
That's for sure. And we do have some information that, Mike, I know you're going to confirm about the Arizona firefighters.
Yeah, Pat, this was something that you flagged me about, and we looked into it. And yes, there are now help coming from Arizona. Our affiliate over there, KPHO, confirming that the Arizona Division of Forestry is sending a crew of firefighters over here to LA to help us with our various fires. And speaking of various fires, I want to come to my computer here because I've got new evacuations. There have been two new cities now added to the evacuation list for the Hearst fire. No, I'm sorry, not the Hearst fire, for the Eaton fire. In the San Gabriel Valley, started in the Pasadena area. So we are now adding Sierra Madre to mandatory. We told you about that. Arcadia now has mandatory evacuations, and Monrovia now has voluntary evacuations. I've been listening to the radio traffic on this, and the fire is continuing to push east, which is very indicative of the way the evacuation orders have been listed. So for a reminder, the fire started right here off of Eaton Canyon Road here in the Altadena, Pasadena area. And since then, it has pushed to the east. And that is why we are now seeing the new evacuation orders here in Arcadia, mandatory evacuation orders in Arcadia, and voluntary evacuation orders in Arcadia, and now voluntary evacuations in the Monrovia area. So that is significant. I also want to tell you about this fire because it has now grown to 600 acres. So we started with 20, 200, 400, and now we are at 600 acres as the fire continues to burn in an easterly direction towards now Monrovia and Arcadia. I also want to take you out to Silmar. That is where the Hearst fire is burning. The Hearst fire is at 100 acres. These are live pictures now from our photographer, John Schreiber, who is there. You can see those tall power lines kind of towering above the flames here. This fire continues to burn. Right now from City Fire, LA City Fire, who is also handling this fire, is still saying 100 acres. We have not gotten an updated acreage since then. I would imagine that is not going to, I would imagine that that is going to grow significantly just based on the fire activity and where it is burning up into the mountains there. I want to remind people the evacuation area is north of the 210 from Roxford on the eastern flank of it. On the west, the 5 and the 14 split. So all of that area from the 210 north and up into the mountains there. And again, this is where the Saddle Fire burned back in 2019, almost the exact same area. And we're running into another situation here where, you guys, this is going to be a lot of livestock that are in this area, a lot of horses that need to get evacuated and move out of the area here. And unfortunately, we're now looking at another situation in LA where we are seeing another glow of orange in a new portion of this. And the fire is not getting any smaller. As you can see, those big towering flames that John is showing us. And I want to point out again for our viewers who may just be tuning in, there are no water dropping helicopters available at all right now. And that is because the wind is so strong, it is not safe for the water dropping helicopters to launch. There are a host of them that we could be using here, but LA City, LA County, the other agencies have all decided it is not safe to fly tonight. John Schreiber, who is now in Silmar, was supposed to be in SkyCal tonight. We actually had him hanging out at the airport all night in hopes that we would be able to launch. But the winds never made that happen. So we threw him in a live truck and now he's in Silmar. But that was how the situation's been going all day, unfortunately, for the aircraft.
Well, that even affected President Biden's trip here.
That's right.
Yeah. He was supposed to go down to Palm Springs from Los Angeles, but he wasn't able to do so.
And we even got special permission from the Secret Service to fly over the Palisades fire, and we just couldn't because of how bad the wind was.
No, just want to mention, guys, when you say Arcadia, Santa Anita Racetrack is obviously affected by that. The Arcadia Mall, these are just things that, well, I was near last week at that mall. So I passed through there, and an area of Pasadena where a friend's home has been evacuated tonight. But just wondering, those are two, when you think about what I want to say, points of interest that people know about.
Absolutely. No, we've all been to those malls and to that area, and it's hard to believe that the fire has moved that far east. I mean, we're talking about an area that was Altadena during the 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock hour, and now we're talking all the way out to Monrovia for voluntary evacuations, no less, but still Arcadia with mandatory evacuation orders tonight for the Hearst fire. And, we're talking about how this fire has really, really grown as well. In Silmar, the Hearst fire above Olive View Medical Center, and you're now on the 210 freeway. The 210 closed in the area right now as evacuations happen between Roxford to the 514 split. And as we mentioned, one of our photographers who was supposed to be in SkyCal tonight is on the ground now and shooting these pictures for us on the ground from someone's backyard there in Silmar.
Yeah, just above Filbert, he tells me. So Filbert, if you know the area, is basically if you get off the 210, you take Yarnell all the way around, it turns into Saddle Ridge and then turns into Filbert. So that's where he's at, is in Filbert. And I do just quickly want to point out, you guys, that the 210 freeway is still closed, as well as the southbound 5 transition road from the south 5 to the east 210 has been closed as well. So you've got the 210 west is closed, and then you've got the southbound 5 to the 210 east, the transition road is also closed. Now, hopefully this doesn't happen, but what we saw the last time is the 5 got shut down. And this is in an area where if the 5 gets shut down, you're effectively shutting off the artery from Santa Clarita, Castaic, Lancaster, Palmdale, all of that. And last time we dealt with this, that whole community north of the San Fernando Valley kind of got locked out of getting down here because the fire jumped the 5 freeway. So that hasn't happened yet, and we're hopeful that doesn't happen. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
You know, I would imagine even people should check with their businesses in terms of reporting
for work
tomorrow, because you know, not only, again, we've been saying if you're not in the direct line of these fires, you still could have outages where you can't work anyway.
Yeah.
Just saying. Don't say you listen to Pat Harvey on KCAL.
Playing hooky now. Don't go play hooky now.
She said don't come to work. I'm just saying, plan ahead and call in tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Unless you get some kind of notification.
Yeah. And if you work in any of the school districts that we've been talking about, that is certainly the case for you tomorrow. We've been talking about various areas around the fires that we're talking about. We know Glendale was another one that came out late tonight. Glendale Unified School District and the La Cañada School District also closing their schools for tomorrow because of the winds that we're expecting to happen as well tomorrow. But tonight, a lot of people not only dealing with the fires in the specific areas that we're talking about, and not only the winds, but because of the winds, we're also looking into power outages tonight. And they are, everywhere. We're talking about 75,000 customers in the dark right now, and the LADWP with outages as well.
And Leslie Maureen is in Valley Village. And Leslie, you've been telling us that some people have been without power for hours now. And really, you don't have any time frame to tell people that their power is going to come back on. So this is almost an indefinite situation, right?
Yeah, Pat, I had some hope here because I've been monitoring LADWP's website throughout the night, and it was telling me this area is seeing about 1,500 customers without power, maybe getting their power restored around 3:30 tomorrow morning. Well, I just checked LADWP's website once again, and they were predicting restoration anywhere from 4 to 12 hours. Now they're saying that it could be anywhere from 24 to 48 hours if you are experiencing a power outage. That means that some people could go 2 days without power in their neighborhood. It's frustrating, but there are so many crews that are working to get that power restored. Again, we're talking about this neighborhood here behind me. We're actually in Studio City here, and this is Moore Park, and you can see it is completely dark. It's pretty eerie out here, I will tell you. You can see, you can't really make out, but there are homes here in the dark. There are apartment buildings here that have been in the dark for most of the day into the night. We tried to get gas here at this gas station earlier. Didn't realize when it was light out that the pumps weren't working. Yeah, power's out here as well. And I'm going to turn us around because there's entire shopping centers that we've seen. And this is really a problem. We've been here at this intersection of Laurel Canyon and Moore Park. Earlier, parking enforcement was here. Since traffic died down, they have since left. They've obviously have left the flares on the ground. Because it's so dark, no one is paying attention to the fact that this is a four-way stop. So you heard the honking. It's become quite a situation here. A lot of people have near misses, and that's the last thing you want to see in these situations, right? Our firefighters are busy, our paramedics, our ambulances are busy right now with these fires, our police officers are busy. So an accident is not something that they want on their list. But I want to get to some video because we have seen trees toppled over all across the Southland, and we actually saw a tree on the 101 that came down in some of the first lanes there, right at the Laurel Canyon Boulevard exit. And you can see it just nearly missed a car. A driver was outside of his car speaking with CHP, as well as a tow truck trying to clear those lanes from the 101. That was quite the situation. And then you have video of Moore Park and Laurel Canyon, where power has been out all day long. But back out here live, you can see the situation does continue across the street, a shopping center that many of us do visit to get some food, pizza. That power has been out for most of the day, but really, you're going to have to hold on, because again, LADWP, if you are a customer, thousands of their customers do not have power right now in this area. We're seeing about 1,500 do not have power, and they're saying anywhere from 24 to 48 hours before power could be restored. So people are going to have to hang tight, possibly go visit family outside the area, Pat and Susie, because this could take a while. Some people ask, why does it take so long? Just down the street, we saw a power line that was snapped. Before they could actually fix it, they have to wait for a tree trimming crew to come out here to knock down the trees, chop down the trees first before they can actually begin their process of getting power restored. So it's little things like that. There's a process to everything. It takes a while, but it's not only for your safety, but the crew's safety as well. For now, Susie, Pat, we'll send it back to you.
No, interesting hearing what you're saying there, Leslie. I know exactly that little shopping center that you're talking about, the grocery store, correct? And yeah, Trader Joe's and other businesses around there. That's the other thing we have to be mindful of, that there may not be restaurants open tomorrow. You may not be able to just go and pick up a favorite snack from somewhere because they don't have power as well. They may not have generators to get them back up and running. So we're going to give you as much information as we can, but also, pay attention and from tonight through tomorrow to see if things are going to be open or not. And from the way that it looks, certainly in that area, just not sure about that, Leslie, but that could impact people as well.
It's so important what she was
prepared.
Be patient.
And so important what Leslie was pointing out, just about people going through intersections that have the power out in that area. It's hard to see because, first of all, there is no power to those lights. And so it turns into a four-stop. But when you don't see lights ahead of you and you think you can just blow through the intersection, it's not an intersection. That causes all kinds of danger. So as you can see, those cars really trying to navigate that intersection without the lights there. But that is not just in this intersection where Leslie is standing right now. This is all throughout Southern California right now where power is out. So definitely a good idea to heed those warnings that Leslie was just talking about.
Yeah, because you won't even have flashing lights that you have sometimes. The power is out there. So, well, we're going to have to navigate ourselves whenever we leave the station. And in fact, we've had some hits here. We've been able to get back on the air. So, Danny, we are, waiting and holding our breath to hear what you have to say about our weather and the direction that these winds are going to be taking.
I know. We're just hoping for a break from these winds. It's not happening right now, Pat and Susie. We're seeing these winds ramping up right now. But as of checking in with me about 15, 20 minutes ago, a lot hasn't changed right now. That's good news. But still, look at how widespread these winds are. I mean, this is not normal for us when we're dealing with these Santa Ana winds to see winds this strong, of this magnitude, this widespread. This is what makes this rare. So let's talk about where we're seeing the strongest winds. So it's right there where the Hearst fire is burning, Santa Clarita towards Burbank, the 210 corridor right now. We've got gusts between 50 to 60 miles per hour, even stronger in some areas. The numbers that you're seeing, these are just the reporting stations right there. Between these numbers, between these communities, there could be these little areas where these winds are a little bit stronger. And that's what makes these Santa Ana winds so unique, as well, is that there's so many canyons and valleys. And as the wind flows through, it speeds up. And so we're going to see these pockets of stronger winds out there. Simi Valley has seen consistent gusts of 65 miles per hour, pushing out towards the Malibu coastline, 56 miles per hour there. Even the San Gabriel Valley, we've seen gusts between 40 to 50 miles per hour there. Into the Inland Empire and Inland Orange County, not quite as strong as what we're seeing through LA and Ventura counties, but still, we've had some gusty winds. San Bernardino and Riverside seeing gusts reaching 66 miles per hour this evening. And again, if you're not seeing those strong winds right now, tonight we could see pockets of stronger winds. Let me walk you through what that means. I want to make sure you and your family, you feel prepared. We're in the midst of the strongest winds right now through 9 o'clock Wednesday morning. That's going to be the window for the peak winds. They'll still be strong through the day on Wednesday, but not as widespread as what we're going to see right now. Mountain waves, you've probably heard this term a lot over the last couple of days. Before this, though, you don't hear this term. We don't talk about this much in Southern California. It is rare for us. Last time we saw this, it was probably with Pasadena, December 2011, when we saw 1,200 trees knocked down, and that was because of the wind damage, 80-mile-per-hour winds from a combination of Santa Ana winds and mountain waves. We have these really strong winds that hit the peaks, the ridges of the mountains, and sometimes they break through and they shoot down to the surface, and that's when we see these pockets of, let's say, 80 to 100-mile-per-hour gusts, which is what we could see tonight. So it could be these quick periods where these winds ramp up fast, they're intense, and they move out pretty quickly. So that's what we're going to be watching for. It's the Santa Ana winds and the potential for mountain waves with this kind of Santa Ana wind event. So let me break down for you what things look like from around 1 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. And you can see this gives you a look at each hour, and you can see the colors, those purples and magentas indicating the stronger winds. So Santa Clarita is going to be a big focus 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning, gusts between 50 to 60 miles per hour. It's going to be breezy really for everyone. You see this in Lancaster, Ontario, Glendale, even Huntington Beach. So really no one here in Southern California is going to be left out of these winds. Even in downtown Los Angeles, where we're going to be looking at gusts between 30 to 40 miles per hour, an area that typically misses some of these Santa Ana winds. So let's take a look at when we finally get a window, a break from these winds. That's not coming tonight, but by tomorrow, over the next 12 to 24 hours, we're going to see some changes, and that's what we're hoping for. So here's a look at our wind future cast. This is a look at 12:15. So over the next 30 minutes, you can still see these widespread winds, and this continues through early tomorrow morning. Howling winds out there. I mean, they're slamming parts of Southern California. Here's where the Hearst fire is burning right there, and you can see those purples, 3:15. So no breaks quite yet. Winds coming out of the northeast, 50 to.
Today's actually a really exciting day because we got to unfold one of these units right in front of a crowd of people full of nonprofit organizations, large donors around the Oklahoma City area. Everybody's pretty excited about what we're putting out here. This is the first time they've seen it. Some of them have seen it before, and they're still in awe just as much as they were when they saw it in a video or a post. And maybe even more so when they get on site, they get to go inside, they get to feel what the space feels like. You know, it's taller. If the ceiling is taller than normal, and so it makes the whole area feel larger. You've got all the necessities that you need in this unit: bathroom, living room, kitchen, full-size kitchen, all full-size appliances. It's a pretty amazing setup, and we're happy to bring it to Oklahoma and be the first to do so.
Let's go, honey.
It is the best day ever.
Day driving into work, and I can only imagine tomorrow after the night that we are expecting. So late morning, it's still breezy out there, and then once we get to the afternoon, this is what I'm focused on. 6:10 tomorrow evening, you can see we're not seeing those purples out there. They're not going to be as widespread, but still for those areas that are prone to the Santa Ana winds, it's still going to be gusty out there. But thankfully, we're not looking at the widespread winds, and we're not dealing with the magnitude that we are seeing right now. I mean, these are powerful, intense winds, and anything that we can do to kind of see them dying down a little bit, that is definitely going to help out with the firefight. But we do see a quick little ramp up, a little uptick Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening, more focused on those areas prone to the Santa Ana winds. And finally, Friday rolls around, and this is when we're going to start to see winds dying down Fire weather watches will stick around though because things are so dry out there. Now, what I want to point out going into tomorrow, fire danger is elevated, and it will continue to be so in Ventura County and also LA County, where we see very strong winds through Santa Clarita. I want to bring you over to Orange County and the Inland Empire. This is where tomorrow folks here are getting in on this particularly dangerous situation. So I want to let Inland Empire and Orange County know we're not leaving you out tonight. The focus for this extreme fire danger is going to be tomorrow, starting at 7 o'clock in the morning, lasting until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Gusts between 40 to 60 miles per hour, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds in the Santa Ana Mountains, and some of these could reach 80 miles per hour. And typically this time of the year, we're not really concerned with the red flag warnings, but unfortunately that is not the case with this event, and that's because it's so dry out there. We haven't seen any rain, only 0.02 of an inch of rain in downtown Los Angeles. So this is going to mark, as of tomorrow, our driest start to winter since 1964. And that's why this wind event, we were so concerned about it in terms of the fire danger, is because there's so much dry vegetation out there. So as you can see, going into tomorrow for the valleys, we've got the winds that stick around for the first half of the day. 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock, it's still windy out there. Tomorrow is a little bit warmer, upper 60s. Second half of the day, though, you don't see that windy icon. That's because winds will not be as widespread. Still breezy out there, but it looks like they're going to start to let up just a little bit, and we will take anything that we can get. Temperatures in the 60s and the 70s tomorrow. This overall has not been a really warm Santa Ana wind event. I mean, how wild today. We started off the day with snow in the San Bernardino County Mountains up through Big Bear, and then we end the day with the Santa Ana wind event. So this is what makes this so unusual. We don't normally see those two going hand in hand. Going into the next 7 days, though, our eyes are on the hope, which is when we finally get done with this wind event. And we're going to see some hope going into Friday and the weekend. Temperatures in the 70s. We're quiet this weekend. Winds are going to die down. No rain in sight. You can see in the valleys, windy Wednesday and Thursday. Low to mid 70s. We climb a bit Friday. This weekend is quiet in the 70s. For folks in the Inland Empire, we could see some patchy blowing dust going into Wednesday. So I want you to be extra careful if you're getting on the roads tomorrow. That is going to be a concern. We have those air quality alerts that are in place. Temperatures will be in the 60s this weekend. Winds will finally die down. Deserts will be breezy Wednesday. That's the case for the mountains, the beaches, and then Pat and Susie, we're going to start to quiet down a little bit more Thursday and Friday. Winds will slowly start to die down, and then this weekend is going to look so much better. But hopefully, as these winds die down over the next couple of days, this gives our firefighters who have been fighting so hard out there a chance to get a handle on some of these fires.
All right, Danny, thank you so much. Well, it was about 13 hours ago now, a fire in Pacific Palisades erupted, and tonight, that fire has moved all the way down to Malibu.
And from what we understand, we know it started at 20 acres. Well, several hours ago, we heard it was 2,900. So we know it's much more than that. But Laura Perez is at the Palisades Fire, and that fire has spread into Malibu. So, Lori, it's almost midnight. What's the situation where you are?
Well, you know, the fires in these neighborhoods behind us continue to grow, and more engines and more firefighters continue to show up to try to do what they can to save as many homes as possible. But I can tell you, when the smoke clears, literally, I think jaws are going to drop. There is so much damage here in Malibu. I sent in some videos at about 10 o'clock tonight as we were driving south on PCH from Las Flores Canyon down heading south, and it was remarkable. It was just house after house after house, building structures, stores after store, just burning alongside the road with crews trying heroically to save what they can. But you know how tight those beachside homes are, so when one catches, the likelihood of the next one catching is very high, and we saw that with our own eyes. I mean, really just a heartbreaking sight to see as we're coming down PCH, really on both sides of PCH, both on the beach side and the other side. We saw lots of retail businesses and restaurants, including Rosenthal Wine Patio for people who are familiar with it, including the Real Inn, including Oasis Center. I mean, just so many stores and homes along PCH burned tonight. And, you know, it was really something to see. We've been talking so much about the fire and how much it has affected Pacific Palisades, but Malibu has also been very severely affected in some of the same areas where we were just a month ago for the fire that happened here. We revisited those areas tonight saying, hey, we were just here. And again, they were hit. It's such a really difficult night here in Malibu. Behind us, you can see just in the last few moments, the blaze has really pumped up behind us, just past that bridge. We're right at Puerto Marina and PCH across the way, just south of the Getty Villa. There are streets after street of homes here, and we have seen many, many of them go up in flames tonight. That's a brush fire that is dangerously close to several more homes. The houses right behind it were on fire, so undoubtedly some of the embers from those houses then spread to the brush and started that blaze right there. You can see to the left of it is another building that could easily catch on fire. In fact, the bridge in the foreground could also catch on fire. So that's why there are units stationed here to the left. They've been here for about an hour now. They were asking us actually if we knew anything about the building over here in terms of access or entry, and we did not, but they're staying here. They're going to protect that building to do what they can to try and save it. But, you know, we've seen so many crews around Pacific Palisades and here in Malibu, but there just are honestly not enough crews for all of the fires that are burning throughout this area. There's just not, there simply cannot be enough hands for everything that is going on. And I know that they are having to make some very difficult and delicate decisions tonight about where they concentrate and what they try to save and what they can save because so much is going on. I do not envy that work that they are doing. It is heroic work. It is very difficult work, and it is work that is going to continue for hours into the night. The wind, I'm sure you can tell, is still burning, is still strong, I should say, and that is fueling these fires, and that is the enemy of these firefighters tonight. Guys, back to you.
You know, right behind you, Lori, there's a bridge, a pedestrian bridge. Have you heard anything from firefighters or about them being concerned that if that bridge goes down, that it's going to block first responders being able to get through, or are they not really concerned about that right now?
I have not heard that, but they were actually standing right here next to us, and they were kind of eyeing the situation, not only this building behind us, but also the bridge, and that's why they were asking those questions about, do you know anything about any sort of entryway into that building at all? And I did not, but I'm sure that they are worried about that bridge collapsing, because you're right, that would cause a very serious problem here. I mean, we have been here for a few hours now, and we've seen dozens of trucks and engines and emergency responders going up and down PCH. I mean, if this were to get closed off, that would be a disaster beyond proportion. I mean, it would cut off people from, frankly, from life-saving crews. So that cannot happen, and that might also be why they are staging, in fact, so many units just over here to just try and keep an eye on things. And God forbid that that bridge should come down, that they would be able to address it as quickly as possible. I will tell you, if you go further up PCH, there already is a lot of debris on the roads. There are rocks, trees, utility poles. It was pretty treacherous and pretty intense the further that we went up PCH. So, you know, certainly they don't want that to spread down here at all.
All right, Lori Perez live from Malibu tonight. Thank you so much for that, Lori. And, you know, we've been talking about all night how, you know, this area, specifically in Malibu, it's seen fire before. I mean, just weeks ago, just the week before Christmas, Mike, we were talking about the Franklin fire. And, you know, this fire now today has been burning since 10:30 in the morning.
And we've seen a lot more damage from more than the Franklin fire. And I'm sure we're going to see more at the light of day when we get more information.
Sure.
So we've got tonight 3 destructive fires that are burning